Chapter 2410 Hanging on a Thread. 2410 Hanging on a Thread. Su Zimo clenched his fists and his flesh was filled. Descending from the skies with a divine might, he smashed towards Lang Qianqian's face as though he was holding a gigantic seal. Lang Qianqian raised her arms above her head. Bang! A dull sound of defeat echoed when the gigantic seal struck her arms. All right. Lang Qianqian grunted dully and felt a sharp pain in her arms. The next moment, she felt numb and could not exert any strength. The power of Su Zimo's attack was way too ferocious and dispersed her blood qi. However, Su Zimo's attacks did not stop. Lowering his body, he curled up and suddenly bounced up, holding something in the air with both hands. That single attack released an extremely tragic killing intent. He wants to kill me. Lang Qianqian was alarmed. Her arms were numb and her blood qi was chaotic. Without hesitation, she tapped her feet on the ground and swayed slightly like a willow catkin, falling rapidly to the back to distance herself from Su Zimo. Lang Qianqian thought that Su Zimo's attack was meant to kill her on the spot. She did not hold back at all and retreated dozens of feet in the blink of an eye. However, Su Zimo's attack came to an abrupt stop. He suddenly retracted his momentum and turned to grab the Pure Jade manual on the stone table behind him. Suppressing the prince and princess was not his goal. It was the Pure Jade manual. As long as he obtained the Pure Jade manual, be it advancing, retreating, or leaving this place, everything would be under his control. After forcing Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian back, the Pure Jade manual was already within reach. Just as the bamboo scroll was about to land in his hands, a warning flashed in Su Zimo's mind, and he caught sight of a bedazzling golden light from the corner of his eye. The next moment, a powerful aura of death enveloped him. This is bad. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Although he did not know what the golden light behind him was, he could sense that it could definitely threaten his life. Without hesitation, Su Zimo decisively gave up on the Pure Jade manual and sidestepped, dodging to the other side. Suddenly, in another direction, a blinding white light burst forth with a chilling killing intent. Instantly, it descended and severed Su Zimo's escape path. The moment the white light appeared, the temperature in the hall dipped significantly. Pissed, Su Zimo's expression turned grim. In this hall, he could not use his spirit consciousness to scan or activate his movement technique or secret skill. It would be difficult for him to break free from the encirclement of the two killing moves with just the burst of his physical strength. The power released by the two beams of light had clearly surpassed the heaven essence realm and was at another level. Furthermore, the attack of the second white light was extremely mysterious and had already sealed all of Su Zimo's escape routes. Golden light descended from behind in an unstoppable manner while white light encircled and blocked his path. There was no way to retreat. In the blink of an eye, the situation had reversed and Su Zimo was in immense danger. On the other side, Lin Luo and Golden Feather stopped instinctively when they sensed the energy fluctuation and looked over with shocked expressions. Ah! Lin Luo could not help but exclaim softly when she saw Su Zimo's situation. Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian indeed have trump cards. Golden Feather thought to himself, it's not so easy to defeat the prince and princess after all. On the battlefield, with his life hanging on a thread, the figure of a black-robed woman wielding a horsetail whip suddenly appeared in Su Zimo's mind. That footwork was extremely mysterious and filled with obscurities. Su Zimo had only seen it once and could not comprehend the obscurities of the footwork, let alone execute it. However, Lin Luo had released it countless times earlier on as well. The figures of Lin Luo and the black-robed woman seemed to overlap in his mind. As though he was possessed, Su Zimo subconsciously took a slanted step in one of the directions and landed on a spot in the void with extreme precision. The encirclement of the two divine lights had almost sealed all of Su Zimo's escape routes. As for the spot that Su Zimo had just stepped out, it was the single opening and his only shot at survival. With that single step, Su Zimo broke free from the encirclement of the two divine lights and left them behind. Lin Luo's eyes lit up and a look of disbelief appeared on her face as she murmured, "How could he?" After Su Zimo escaped, he could not help but break out in cold sweat. If that mysterious footwork had not saved his life earlier on, he would most likely have been severely injured or even dead on the spot. Su Zimo turned back and could not help but frown. In front of Ing Tian stood a tall golden-armored giant with a cold expression. It wielded a wide golden gigantic sword. The golden-armored giant was the one who slashed out the golden light earlier on. A puppet? Su Zimo murmured softly. Puppet techniques belong to the unorthodox groups. There were dermic daos of those in Tianhuang mainland as well. However, the power of the golden-armored giant puppet had already surpassed the heaven immortal realm and was at the level of a perfected immortal. It was way too terrifying. Ing Tian carried such a puppet with him at all times. Not many people, even perfected immortals, could threaten him, let alone heaven immortal experts. On the other side, a white-robed phantom stood in front of Lang Qianqian. It wielded a sword and stood with its hands behind its back. There were even some talisman's fragments scattered beneath the phantom's feet. The second white light should be a killing move released by the phantom. Unlike Ing Tian's puppet, this phantom looked like a type of talisman. Furthermore, the white-robed phantom was already at the level of a perfected immortal in terms of strength as well. If he was not wrong, these should be Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian's final trump cards. Part of the reason why the two of them did not release it initially was because they felt that it was unnecessary. At the same time, they were guarding against the other party. The two of them had not expected that someone would be able to take on the two of them single-handedly and almost suppress them in melee combat. Ing Tian even paid the price of losing his arm. Su Zimo, you're lucky to be able to dodge the sword of my golden-armored puppet. Ing Tian grit his teeth and said coldly, I'll take your life after I obtain the Pure Jade manual. Go. Ing Tian willed. The golden-armored giant in front of him dragged its gigantic sword and strode towards the stone table in the middle. Clang, clang, clang. With every step the golden-armored giant took on the ground, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Sparks flew as its gigantic sword streaked across the ground. Lang Qianqian raised her head slightly. The white-robed phantom in front of her fluttered and charged towards the Pure Jade manual on the stone table at the same time. At that moment, the prince and princess did not hold back at all and released their trump cards, wanting to take the Pure Jade manual for themselves. In the end, the golden-armored giant was a step slower. Just as the white-robed phantom was about to snatch the Pure Jade manual, the golden-armored giant suddenly raised its gigantic sword and slashed towards the stone table. The white-robed phantom slashed in reverse towards the gigantic golden sword. Clang! The two swords collided with an ear-piercing sound and burst forth with a blinding light. Chapter 2411, 2411, Authentic Jade Manual. 2411, Authentic Jade Manual. The sword technique of the golden-armored giant was forceful and the white-robed phantom could not match it head-on. However, the sword beam of the white-robed phantom exuded a mysterious and feminine aura, releasing a gentle force that repelled the gigantic sword of the golden-armored giant. This could already be considered as a fight between perfected immortals. Initially, Su Zimo had the highest chance of obtaining the Pure Jade manual. To think that after Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian released their trump cards, no one else could compete at all. Standing far away, Su Zimo did not dare to advance recklessly. Be it the golden-armored giant or the white-robed phantom, he could not defeat them. The mysterious footwork that he released earlier on was also used in a moment of desperation. Right now, he had no clue how to do it if he had to use it again. Clang, clang, clang. The golden-armored giant and white-robed phantom exchanged blows continuously. In the hall, sword lights streaked and sparks flew as killing intent spread with a chilling intent. Boom! The fight between the two of them spread in all directions, and the stone table collapsed. The Pure Jade manual flew up and the bamboo scroll extended. Ing Tian and Lang Qianqian's eyes lit up. Almost at the same time, the golden-armored giant and white-robed phantom extended their palms. Both of them grabbed one side of the scroll while their other hands that wielded their swords collided violently. Boom! The two swords collided with a tremendous force, and the two figures retreated at the same time. With a ripping sound, the Pure Jade manual in midair could not withstand the impact of the two powers and was torn into two. Wielding half of the Pure Jade manual, the golden-armored giant retreated to Ingtian's side. The white-robed phantom took the other half and returned to Lang Qianqian's side, handing the other half over. Ingtian held half of the Pure Jade manual with a terrible expression. Lang Qianqian frowned slightly as well, revealing a hint of regret. However, on second thought, obtaining half of it was better than returning empty-handed. Furthermore, with this half of the Pure Jade manual, she could negotiate with Ingtian and combine them into one. The two of them could cultivate at the same time and achieve a win-win situation. There was no hurry for this matter. They could think about it at length. When Su Zimo saw that the situation was set, he was prepared to leave. Although he did not obtain the Pure Jade manual, he had benefited immensely from this trip. He obtained many treasures, including the Bodhi seed, which were extremely helpful to his cultivation. Right then, Ingtian suddenly turned around and looked at Su Zimo. He did not conceal the killing intent in his heart as he said coldly, "Su Zimo, it's time for payback for my broken arm." Lang Qianqian turned around as well and looked at Su Zimo, who was not far away. The killing intents in the prince and princess were triggered. They had noble statuses, and although they had encountered many dangers up till this point of their cultivation, they had never been beaten so badly by cultivators of the same cultivation realm. Furthermore, that was given the fact that they had joined forces and the other party's cultivation was 2 minor realms lower than theirs. If Su Zimo were to leave this place alive, it would be a humiliation for the two of them. If possible, Ingtian even wanted to kill everyone who knew about this, including Golden Feather and Lin Luo. Suddenly, the halves of the Pure Jade manual in the hands of Ingtian and Lang Qianqian shone with a divine light where they broke. The divine light released a powerful power that tore the void around the two of them apart and collapsed, forming a dark black hole. Ingtian and Lang Qianqian were stunned. Spatial tunnel? Immediately after, Ingtian reacted and exclaimed softly. The next moment, the black hole released a tremendous suction force and pulled Ingtian and the golden-armored giant beside him in. "No!" Ingtian shouted and wanted to struggle out. Unfortunately, it was too late. The spatial tunnel gradually devoured him and the golden-armored giant before disappearing. On the other side, Lang Qianqian and the white-robed phantom were sucked into a spatial tunnel as well and disappeared from the hall before long. In the blink of an eye, space healed as though nothing had happened. There were only 3 people left in the hall: Su Zimo, Lin Luo, and Golden Feather. Su Zimo and Lin Luo frowned slightly in deep thought. Golden Feather's eyes flickered. He could not even defeat Su Zimo, let alone the combined forces of Su Zimo and Lin Luo. When Golden Feather saw Su Zimo's decisiveness to kill earlier on, he was extremely wary. Afraid that Su Zimo would react and kill him here, he was so scared that he took out a teleportation talisman from his storage bag and tore it apart. Pure Jade manual? So, it's just a scam. With that said, Golden Feather disappeared into the spatial tunnel and left as well. Su Zimo and Lin Luo were the only ones left in the hall. The two of them exchanged glances and burst into laughter. The Pure Jade manual earlier on shouldn't be real, Su Zimo said deeply. That should be just a gigantic teleportation talisman. After Ingtian and Lang Qianqian tore it apart, they were teleported away separately to unknown places. Lin Luo nodded as well. If that Pure Jade manual isn't real, where is it? It should still be here? Su Zimo thought for a moment before saying, there are about 3 possibilities. First, as Golden Feather said before he left, this might be just a scam, nothing more than a joke made by Immortal Emperor Dawn Twilight. Of course, I don't agree with that. Immortal Emperor Dawn Twilight went through so much trouble and the treasures left behind in the previous hall were so precious. There's no need for him to make such a joke on the most important Pure Jade manual. Lin Luo said, the second possibility is like what I mentioned earlier on. The Pure Jade manual is still here. Su Zimo nodded. Lin Luo asked, what about the third possibility? Su Zimo said, the third possibility is where Tian and Lang Qianqian were teleported to. That's where the Pure Jade manual is. Lin Luo was enlightened and said softly, that's indeed possible. No matter what, let's search this place first. Su Zimo smiled. Even if we can't find the Pure Jade manual, this gigantic palace that's completely made up of essence spirit stones is a huge gain. The two of them split up and searched everywhere in the hall. After almost half a day, they turned the Pure Palace upside down but could not find any traces of the Pure Jade manual. The two of them gathered once more and arrived outside the Pure Hall. Lin Luo smiled bitterly. I'm afraid you're right. Tian and Lang Qianqian should have been teleported to where the Pure Jade manual is. Su Zimo remained silent. Lin Luo sighed gently. What a pity. You should have been the one to obtain the teleportation Jade manual on the stone table. However, it was snatched away by the two of them. Right then, Su Zimo and Lin Luo suddenly felt a mysterious and powerful power surge around them. After a moment of dizziness, the two of them broke free from the secret ground. Immediately after, the secret ground changed continuously before their eyes. It shrank and condensed, gradually turning into a green ball of light that floated over and stopped in front of Su Zimo. Chapter 2412, 2412 Pure Magnificence Heaven. 2412 Pure Magnificence Heaven. What's that? Instinctively, Lin Luo reached out and tried to touch it. The moment her palm touched the green ball of light, she felt a sharp pain and retracted her palm hurriedly. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo at the side and stuck out her tongue. I'm not allowed to touch this thing. Su Zimo was puzzled as well. Narrowing his eyes slightly, he focused his gaze. Within the green ball of light, a bamboo scroll floated vaguely and emitted a mysterious glow. Su Zimo extended his hand in a testing manner and reached into the green ball of light without feeling any resistance. Immediately after, he took the bamboo scroll from the green ball of light and saw 4 words written on the first bamboo plate. Pure Jade Manual. It's the Pure Jade Manual. Lin Luo exclaimed softly when she saw the words. Su Zimo nodded. Lin Luo's eyes revealed a hint of envy. Fellow Taoist Su, it's clear that the Pure Jade Manual has already acknowledged you as its master. This is your opportunity. How could this be? Su Zimo was delighted when he obtained the Pure Jade Manual as well. However, there were still many things he did not understand. Why would the Pure Jade Manual acknowledge him as its master? Where was the secret ground they were in earlier on? What did that secret ground have to do with the Pure Jade Manual before him? Su Zimo injected his spirit consciousness into the Pure Jade Manual and received a lot of information. After a long time, he let out a look of realization and murmured softly, I see. What's going on, fellow Taoist? Hurry and tell me. Although Lin Luo was a little disappointed that she did not obtain the Pure Jade Manual, she could not contain her curiosity and urged. Su Zimo said, this involves a secret of the 3 Pure Ones Jade Manual. At that point, Lin Luo suddenly interrupted and shook her head. Since it's a secret, it's better if you don't say it. Although I'm curious, I know that such things can't be casually probed. It's nothing much. There's no need to hide it from you. Su Zimo looked at Lin Luo and smiled gently. Although Lin Luo's cultivation was superior, she was not old and carried the innocence of a young girl. In Su Zimo's eyes, she was more like a little sister, just like Xiaoning. Because of Lin Luo's background, Su Zimo naturally felt closer and trusted her. At the thought of Xiaoning, Su Zimo could not help but feel a sense of longing. With that, he could not help but recall Night Spirit, Monkey, Lin Xuanji, and a group of old friends from Tianhuang mainland. Su Zimo looked into the distance in a daze. There were many old friends of his generation from Tianhuang mainland who ascended, But now, he had only found Yin Beichen and Ming Zhan. There was no news of the others, and their fates were unknown. When Lin Luo saw the strange expression on Su Zimo's face, she did not disturb him and merely waited quietly at the side. A moment later, Su Zimo snapped out of his stupor and looked at Lin Luo at the side, saying apologetically, "I'm sorry. I dazed off thinking about the past and some old friends. Since you know father, you should be from Tianhuang mainland as well, right?" Lin Luo recalled the previous scene and asked. Su Zimo nodded. Indeed. Lin Luo bowed deeply to Su Zimo. "Fellow Taoist Su, no matter what, thank you for helping me obtain the immortal pill and giving me the Sriracha fruit." Su Zimo hurried forward and helped her up, saying sternly, "The reason why Senior Human Emperor is injured is because he went against the heaven and earth laws back then and forcefully descended to save the human race of Tianhuang mainland. That was the reason why he suffered the backlash. If not for Senior Human Emperor, I would have died a long time ago and the human race of Tianhuang mainland would have been doomed. My meager help is nothing." Pausing for a moment, Su Zimo asked, "How are the injuries of Senior Human Emperor? How has Fairy Ling long been?" "Father's injuries have not shown any signs of healing. Actually, it's unknown if this immortal pill and the Sriracha fruit can heal father's injuries. We can only give it a try and hope that it will work." Lin Luo sighed gently, and a look of worry that did not belong to her age appeared on her slightly tender face. "Mother is fine and has always been by father's side." She paused for a moment and hesitated. Actually, Lin Zhan's injury caused a huge stir in the Green Firmament Immortal Domain and even spread to the 9 Firmament Immortal Domain and the entire heavenly world. Otherwise, juniors like Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian would not have known about this. The impact of this matter was immense. As time passed by, the territory ruled by Lin Zhan became unstable with internal and external troubles. If not for Fairy Ling Long holding down the fort, the massive immortal kingdom would have fallen apart long ago and been divided by the other factions of the Green Firmament Immortal Domain. However, Lin Zhan's injuries did not recover for a long time. Fairy Ling Long alone could not support such a massive faction, and the pressure she faced increased. If Lin Zhan could not recover completely or encounter any unforeseen circumstances, they might be annihilated. Fairy Ling Long and Lin Luo's brother had never mentioned such things to her. However, Lin Luo was sharp and intelligent. She could see and sense everything. Although the immortal kingdom she was in right now seemed massive, it was actually extremely fragile. Any slight activity could cause unimaginable changes. These were rather private affairs of her family. Although Lin Luo trusted Su Zimo a lot, it was inappropriate for her to say such things to him explicitly. Furthermore, even if she said it, Su Zimo would not be of much help given his cultivation realm. For some unknown reason, Lin Zimo felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity when she looked at Su Zimo. It was not only because Su Zimo was from Tianhuang mainland. More than that, it was because Su Zimo felt more like a brother to her. When Su Zimo saw that Lin Luo was troubled, he did not ask further. "I wasn't finished with the matter of the 3 Pure Ones Jade Manual just now." Ying Tian once said that in the 3 Pure Ones Jade Manual, the Supreme Pure Jade Manual refines the spirit, the Jade Pure Jade Manual tempers the body, while the Grand Pure Jade Manual refines techniques. The cultivation techniques in each volume are all top-tier techniques. However, that's not the only reason why the 3 Pure Ones Jade Manual is known as a taboo mystic classic. More than that, it's because every single Jade Manual is actually a world of its own. Lin Luo revealed a shocked expression and asked instinctively, "In that case, the secret ground we were in earlier on was actually—" "That's right. We were in the Jade Pure Jade Manual earlier on." Su Zimo nodded. The Jade Pure Jade Manual was not hidden at any location in the secret ground. It was the secret ground. The world contained in the Jade Pure Jade Manual was also known as the Pure Magnificence Heaven. The Pure Magnificence Heaven was an existence extremely similar to Emperor Bo Sun's Heaven of the Great Fiend. A world could only be condensed after one advanced to the Emperor realm. If he could control the Jade Pure Jade Manual completely, it would mean that he could control the world of the Pure Magnificence Heaven. That was also the reason why there were legends saying that once a person obtained a volume of the Three Pure Ones Jade Manual, there was a high chance they would be able to advance to the Emperor realm. Of course, given Su Zimo's current cultivation realm, he could only see the cultivation techniques in the Pure Jade Manual. However, he could not open up the world within, let alone control the pure Magnificence heaven. Even so, as long as he had the Pure Jade Manual with him, he would have a higher chance of entering the Emperor realm in the future than others. Furthermore, he could already cultivate the top-tier cultivation technique within the Pure Jade Manual right away. Chapter 24:13, 24:13 5 Cities 12 Towers. 24:13 5 Cities 12 Towers. Su Zimo said, "The true test left behind by Immortal Emperor Dawn Twilight was actually in the Hall of the Dawn Bell and the Twilight Drum. Only those that obtain the baptism of the Dawn Bell and the Twilight Drum's Dermic Daos will not be rejected by the Pure Jade Manual at the end." Lin Luo was enlightened. Even if Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian did not tear the teleportation talisman and were teleported away, they would not have been able to obtain the Pure Jade Manual. Earlier on, when Lin Luo tried to make contact with the Pure Jade Manual, she suffered a backlash. Su Zimo's spirit consciousness browsed through the Pure Jade Manual briefly, and he felt that the cultivation technique recorded on it did not seem to be just a simple body tempering technique. Instead, there were other uses. However, now was not the time to cultivate. "Where are we?" Su Zimo looked around and asked softly. Before he entered the Pure Jade Manual, he was in Heaven and Earth Academy. But now that he had exited the Pure Jade Manual, it was clear that he had arrived at an unfamiliar place. He was surrounded by towering mountains and lush greenery without any emblems. Lin Luo pondered for a moment. "If I'm not wrong, this should be the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain." "Oh." Su Zimo was slightly surprised. He did not know how Lin Luo determined it. Lin Luo explained, "Before this, the inheritance of the Grand Pure Jade Manual appeared in the Grand Firmament Immortal Domain. The Pure Jade Manual should be in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain." Pausing for a moment, she pointed to their surroundings. "Furthermore, there are many peach blossom trees in the forest here." Su Zimo had noticed it as well. The surrounding forest was filled with ancient trees, and there were indeed peach blossom trees growing within. There were many of them. That did seem a little strange. In a normal ancient forest, even if there were peach blossom trees, there would not be such a large number of them. Su Zimo frowned slightly. "But what has the peach blossom tree got to do with the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain?" Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo in surprise. When she saw that he was puzzled and did not seem to be faking it, she explained patiently, "You should know that the essence qi in the heavenly world is much richer than on other stars. It's because in the center of the heavenly world, there's a sacred tree called the Builder Tree. It gathers heaven and earth essence qi and connects to the 9 Firmament Immortal Domain, the Pure Land of Bliss, and the Fiend Domain." Su Zimo nodded. Back on the Dragon Abyss Star, the city lord, Su Shi, had mentioned this to him. "That's right," Lin Luo said. "However, in reality, apart from the Builder Tree in the middle of the heavenly world, be it the 9 Firmament Immortal Domain, Pure Land of Bliss, or the Fiend Domain, they all have spirit herbs and immortal wood that belong to their respective territories that gather heaven and earth essence qi." Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he came to a realization. "I heard that the Pure Land of Bliss has 3 sacred trees. In the Fiend Domain, there's also the saying of the Undying Tree." Lin Luo smiled. "In the 9 Firmament Immortal Domain, there are also immortal trees holding down and absorbing heaven and earth essence qi. For example, in the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain you're in, there's a mystic frost plum tree. It's said that this tree absorbs the coldest qi in the world. The surroundings of the plum tree are frozen and filled with frost, extinguishing all life. As for our Green Firmament Immortal Domain, there's an immortal willow. It once survived a calamity and was reborn from lightning, growing even stronger than before." At that point, Lin Luo paused for a moment. "In the first hall of the Jade Pure Palace earlier on, I fought with you for a withered branch." Zimo nodded. That was indeed the case back then. However, he was the one who obtained the withered branch first, and Lin Luo did not continue fighting for it. Both parties separated the moment they made contact, and there was no intense conflict. Lin Luo smiled. The withered branch you obtained was actually a remnant branch of the Immortal Willow. I see. Zimo recalled the scene back then. The reason why he snatched this withered branch was because the Green Lotus True Body had a reaction and wanted to devour and refine it. From the looks of it, this withered branch was a treasure of the same level as the Ashoka tree trunk. Zimo thought for a moment. In that case, the immortal wood in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain should be a peach blossom tree? To be precise, it's an ancient immortal peach tree. Lin Luo said, it's also because of this immortal peach tree that there are many peach blossom trees in the territory of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. Zimo asked, where are the spirit herbs and immortal wood such as the mystic frost plum tree? I've been in the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain for many years. Why haven't I seen them before? Lin Luo smiled. Immortal wood as such are naturally hidden in the various palaces of the emperors with heavy security. Furthermore, they are guarded by the immortal kings and emperors. For example, the mystic frost plum tree is in the Divine Firmament Palace while the immortal peach tree is in the depths of the Jade Firmament Palace. There's no chance to see it usually. Pausing for a moment, Lin Luo continued, however, the various immortal domains will hold their own heaven-ranking competitions. At that time, various factions and paragons will be invited to gather in the palace, and they might have a chance to come into contact with these immortal trees. If you can be ranked in the heaven ranking, you will have a chance to obtain some benefits from these immortal trees. These immortal trees are nurtured by heaven and earth and have their own sentience. Be it leaves or fruits, they are rich in essence energy and have immense strength. They provide an unimaginable boost to one's cultivation. Zimo nodded. The heaven ranking competition was not only for fame, but also for rich rewards. Back then, he obtained many opportunities in the earth ranking competition and even repaired the hell suppression tripod completely. It was also a large part of the reason why he was able to avoid danger in his trip to Avicii. What are your plans? Zimo asked. I wanted to return to the Green Firmament Immortal Domain as soon as possible and test out these two treasures for Father to see if they are effective. Lin Luo looked at Zimo with a hint of anticipation in her eyes. Fellow Taoist, if you have nothing on, why don't you follow me to the Green Firmament Immortal Domain? Father, Mother, and the others will definitely be extremely happy if they know that an old friend from Tianhuang mainland has ascended. Zimo had benefited quite a bit this time round. Initially, he was prepared to return to Heaven and Earth Academy and cultivate in seclusion once more. However, at the thought of the human emperor who was severely injured as well as Fairy Ling Long, he felt a sense of worry. If he could meet Fairy Ling Long, he could ask her some of the questions that had been bothering him for the past few years. When Lin Luo saw Zimo's hesitation, she smiled. There's no need to make a decision in a hurry. No matter what, we have to find a teleportation formation first. If we have to rely on our legs, be it the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain or the Green Firmament Immortal Domain, we won't be able to reach them without 100 years. Zimo heaved a sigh of relief. That's right. Lin Luo took out a map from his storage bag and compared it carefully. Teleportation formations that could cross the immortal domains were rare. In the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain, similar teleportation formations were only possessed by the 3 immortal kingdoms, 4 immortal sects, and the Divine Firmament Palace. The teleportation formation closest to this place should be here. Lin Luo pointed to an ancient city emblem on the map. Langfeng City. Zimo looked at the ancient city and murmured softly. Lin Luo nodded. The Jade Firmament Immortal Domain is also known as the White Jade Capital. There's even a poem describing it. Up in the heavens, the White Jade Capital houses 5 cities and 12 towers. Its glory shall grant all longevity. Langfeng City is one of the 5 cities. Chapter 2414, 2414 Immortal Peach Banquet. 2414 Immortal Peach Banquet. White Jade Capital, 5 cities, and 12 towers. Suddenly, Su Zimo recalled the ultimate secret skill used by Lang Qianqian and pondered. As though she could read Su Zimo's mind, Lin Luo said, "The ultimate technique used by Lang Qianqian is called the White Jade Capital. Although Lang Qianqian is the princess of the White Firmament Immortal Domain, her mother is from the emperor lineage of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. That's why she knows this ultimate technique." "That explains everything." Su Zimo nodded. The two of them chatted casually for a while, more before Lin Luo took out a spirit vessel from her storage bag and invited Su Zimo to board it, heading towards Langfeng City. The two of them stood at the bow and faced the wind, looking down at the mountains and rivers beneath their feet, taking in the new sights. This was the first time Su Zimo had left the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain. As for Lin Luo, although she was born in the heavenly world and knew many things, this was also her first time in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. Furthermore, she was younger than Su Zimo and was even more curious. She looked around excitedly. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had traveled on the spirit vessel for half a day. Lin Luo extended her petite hand and counted with her fingers. Suddenly, she said, "Judging from the current day, it seems like the Immortal Peach Banquet is about to be held in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain." Immortal Peach Banquet? Su Zimo was slightly surprised. Lin Luo explained, "The Immortal Peach Banquet is similar to the Divine Firmament Immortal Meet on your side. It's a grand gathering of cultivators from various factions of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, and will take turns to be held in the 5 cities. It will definitely be very lively. The ranking of the Heaven ranking will also be selected at the Immortal Peach Banquet. I wonder which of the 5 cities will host the Peach Banquet this time round," Lin Luo murmured in deep thought. Right then, a gigantic warship tore through the clouds and sped over from the horizon not far away. The warship was dozens of feet long and 100 feet tall. There were a total of 7 levels, and it looked extremely majestic on the surface, able to accommodate thousands of people with ease. Dense runes were etched around the warship, forming a sealed protective barrier. Compared to the warship, the spirit vessel that Su Zimo and Lin Luo were on seemed extremely tiny and ordinary. Dozens of figures stood on the deck of the warship. Their leader was a young man. His white robes were spotless, and he wore them meticulously. His hair was neatly combed, and there was a sheathed sword hanging on his waist, making him look carefree and outstanding. On the warship, the young man was a Grade 9 Heaven Immortal. The cultivation realms of the others on the deck were not high either. Most of them were at the Earth Immortal or Heaven Immortal realm. The aura of the warship was grand wherever it passed. However, it was nothing in the eyes of Su Zimo and Lin Luo. Lin Luo was the daughter of the human emperor and fairy Ling Long. At her whim, she could mobilize an army of cultivators that was much stronger than this warship. Su Zimo was from Heaven and Earth Academy, which was also a heaven-grade sect of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain. If there were no perfected immortal experts on this warship, it would only be a black-grade sect or faction at most, and would not be worthy of their attention. It was clear that everyone on the warship noticed Su Zimo and Lin Luo as well. When the young man saw Lin Luo, his eyes lit up. After pondering for a moment, he cupped his fist from afar and raised his voice. "Fellow Taoists, you must be heading to Langfeng City to take part in the Immortal Peach Banquet as well, right?" "Yes, we are." Su Zimo nodded slightly and replied casually. "The Immortal Peach Banquet this time round is in Langfeng City." Lin Luo's eyes darted around with a crafty glint, seemingly plotting something. The young man smiled gently and continued, "I'm Liang Yu of Black Mirror Sect. Fellow Taoists, if you don't mind, why don't you board the ship for a chat? We can travel together." Su Zimo hesitated for a moment and looked at Lin Luo beside him. At that moment, Lin Luo was deep in thought and was a little distracted. The young man named Liang Yu added hurriedly, "The journey to Langfeng City will definitely not be smooth. Fellow Taoists, you're alone and will most likely be doomed if you encounter some Fiend bandits. It'll be much safer to travel with our Black Mirror sect." Su Zimo frowned. Fiend bandits? What were Fiend bandits in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain? Right then, Lin Luo at the side laughed. All right, thank you for your invitation, fellow Taoist Liang. Su Zimo did not know what Lin Luo was thinking, but he did not mind. He remained silent and headed towards the warship with Lin Luo. Liang Yu cast a dermic art and the barrier around the warship swayed slightly, opening up a crack that was enough for Su Zimo and Lin Luo to pass through. Upon boarding the warship, Su Zimo sized up Liang Yu. The young man did not seem to have any ill intentions. However, his gaze swept past Lin Luo from time to time. Fellow Taoists, how should I address you? Liang Yu asked with a warm smile. Just as Su Zimo was about to speak, Lin Luo interrupted. My name is Su Luo and he is Lin Zimo. We are Tao companions. Su Zimo's lips twitched, but he did not say anything. Although Lin Luo was not old, she was extremely cautious, as though she was wary and did not reveal her true name and background. Naturally, Su Zimo would not take the initiative to reveal them as well. At the mention of Tao companion, a look of disappointment flashed through Liang Yu's eyes. However, he returned to normal before long and asked, if I'm not wrong, the two of you should be itinerant cultivators, right? Exactly. Lin Luo nodded. Liang Yu pondered for a moment. If the two of you don't mind, why don't you join Black Mirror sect? We are quite famous in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain. Can the two of us do it? Lin Luo probed, seemingly in disbelief. Of course. Liang Yu nodded hurriedly. Although the master is not around, as the eldest senior brother of Black Mirror sect, I can take in disciples on behalf of the master and accept the two of you first. Fellow Taoist Su, if you have any doubts about your cultivation in the future, just ask me. A strange feeling rose in Su Zimo's heart. Although Liang Yu said fellow Taoist Su, he was looking at Lin Luo as he spoke. After all, in Liang Yu's knowledge, Lin Luo's name was Su Luo. Lin Luo seemed hesitant. Behind Liang Yu, another cultivator of Black Mirror sect said, this is an opportunity of a lifetime for you to be able to be guided by our senior brother. You have to make good use of this chance. Our senior brother is the strongest expert of our Black Mirror sect. He'll definitely become famous at the Immortal Peach Banquet this time round and be ranked on the Heaven ranking. Su Zimo frowned slightly. According to what this person said, Liang Yu was the #1 expert of Black Mirror sect. Didn't that mean the sect was way too weak? How could such a black-grade sect be famous in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain? Or was Liang Yu just bragging? All right then. Lin Luo agreed with a smile. Thank you, senior brother Liang Yu. Chapter 2415. 2415 Broken Army Fiend Bandits. 2415 Broken Army Fiend Bandits. Liang Yu was secretly delighted when he saw Lin Luo agree. The first time he saw Lin Luo, he admired her. Although he was slightly disappointed when he heard that Lin Luo had a Tao companion, he could tell that the slender girl was clearly still a virgin. As long as he invited the two of them to join the sect, there would be many chances for them to interact in the future. In Liang Yu's opinion, be it in terms of cultivation, bearing, status, or position, he was far superior to that seemingly frail green-robed scholar. There was still a long way to go. If he could be ranked on the Heaven ranking and be famous at the Immortal Peach Banquet this time round, there was no way the young girl wouldn't be moved. Su Zimo knew that Lin Luo must have her own plans for doing this. He did not stop her and remained silent without any presence. In the eyes of everyone, Su Zimo was naturally much inferior compared to the suave Liang Yu. Lin Luo pretended to continue chatting with Liang Yu for a while before saying apologetically, Senior brother Liang, I wonder if there's a place to rest. We're a little tired from the long journey. Yes. Liang Yu nodded hurriedly and brought Su Zimo and Lin Luo to a room. After Liang Yu left, Lin Luo released her spirit consciousness and scanned her surroundings. When she saw that there was no one around, she said to Su Zimo, the two of us will definitely encounter many troubles on the way to Langfeng City. Joining Black Mirror sect for the time being can avoid many troubles and hide our identities. Troubles? Su Zimo frowned slightly and asked, the Fiend Bandits that Liang Yu mentioned? Lin Luo nodded. The distribution of the factions in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain is different from the other Immortal Domains. Here, the Jade Firmament Palace is in the center and supported by the 5 cities and 12 towers to rule over the entire Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. In the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain, the 4 immortal sects and 3 immortal kingdoms were on par. However, in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, there were no heaven-grade sects or immortal kingdoms. There was only a super faction, the Jade Firmament Palace. The entire world belonged to the king, and the shores of the earth belonged to him. Lin Luo said, the 5 cities, Langfeng, Xuanpu, Tianyong, Cheonghua, and Jingzhou, attract all the perfected immortals of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. All experts who can advance to the perfected immortal realm aim to be able to join the 5 immortal cities. Once cultivators enter the Grotto Heaven realm and become immortal kings, they will be qualified to join the 12 towers. Su Zimo nodded to himself. According to Lin Luo, the Jade Firmament Palace and the 12 towers controlled almost all the resources of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. If one wanted to advance further, they had to join them. With that, there were no Earth or Heaven-grade factions in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. Almost all the perfected immortals of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain were gathered under the 5 immortal cities. The upper limit of some sects established by Heaven Immortals was at most a black-grade sect like Black Mirror Sect. Lin Luo continued, of course, the 5 immortal cities will also make use of the opportunity of the Immortal Peach Banquet to recruit some Heaven Immortals. However, those who can join the 5 immortal cities are almost all top-tier Heaven Immortals. Apart from the 5 immortal cities, most of the territories are in a chaotic state without any jurisdiction. There are many sects, and there are naturally many bandits. It's said that many of them are from the Fiend domain and are known as Fiend Bandits. Su Zimo frowned and asked, nobody from the 5 immortal cities bothers at all. According to Lin Luo, given the strength of the 5 immortal cities, any single immortal city was enough to sweep through all the Fiend Bandits in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. Lin Luo shook his head. All these years, I've never heard of anyone from the 5 immortal cities standing out. I heard from my brother that this was done intentionally by the experts of the Jade Firmament Palace. They feel that true paragons can only be nurtured through continuous fighting. Su Zimo went deep into thought. Lin Luo continued, this Immortal Peach Banquet is also a rare gathering in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. At the time, cultivators from all over the world will gather here, and there will be various large-scale auction marketplaces. During this period of time, all the Fiend Bandits will move one after another to stop cultivators who head to the 5 immortal cities. Once they succeed, they will obtain many treasures and resources. The two of them chatted for a while, more before separating to cultivate and recuperate. As Lin Luo had said, Black Mirror Sect was indeed harassed by a few Fiend Bandits along the way. However, they were resolved by Liang Yu and the others. For the past few days, Su Zimo had been in seclusion in his room, comprehending the cultivation techniques in the Pure Jade manual. Time was short, and even with his talent, it was impossible for him to cultivate successfully. Even so, Su Zimo comprehended many profound meanings from this cultivation technique and gradually understood the power of the 3 Pure Ones Jade manual. The reason why the 3 Pure Ones Jade manual could be ranked as a taboo mystic classic was not only because every single Jade manual was a world. The Pure Jade manual was not merely a body tempering technique. If he could cultivate the cultivation technique of the Pure Jade manual successfully, Su Zimo's combat strength would definitely increase exponentially. Su Zimo was prepared to head to the teleportation formation after arriving at Langfeng City and return to Heaven and Earth Academy to enter seclusion to cultivate this Pure Jade manual wholeheartedly. 5 days later. Suddenly, the gigantic warship shuddered and swayed before coming to a slow stop. Su Zimo's expression was unchanged as he gripped Essence Spirit Stones with both hands, still absorbing Heaven and Earth Essence Chi to continue cultivating. Lin Luo was cultivating at the side as well and had no intention of getting up. Similar situations happened frequently these days. It was all because they were obstructed by Fiend Bandits. With cultivators of Black Mirror Sect defending outside, they managed to pass through without any mishaps. Before long, Liang Yu suddenly barged in with a terrible expression and whispered, "Fellow Taoists, the Fiend bandits outside this time round are hostile. Be careful." Pausing for a moment, he looked at Lin Luo. "Fellow Taoists Su, follow behind me in a while. If the situation doesn't look good, I'll take you away." "Is it that serious?" Lin Luo frowned. Su Zimo stood up and tidied his clothes. "Let's go out and take a look." The three of them left the room and walked to the bow. Up ahead, there were more than 10 gigantic warships that hovered in midair, forming a semicircular encirclement that surrounded the warship of Black Mirror Sect. There were flags waving on the dozens of warships with 2 gigantic words written on them, "Broken Army." A dense crowd of figures stood on the warships. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of them. All of them were fiendish and glared at Black Mirror Sect with a murderous aura. Be it in terms of cultivators or warships, their numbers were far superior to Black Mirror Sect. Boom, boom, boom. At the bow of the warships, 100 Heaven Immortals joined forces and released divine powers and secret skills, attacking the protective barrier of Black Mirror Sect's warship continuously. The light of the barrier flickered, gradually dimming. It was only a matter of time before it was broken through. The warship swayed slightly as well, as though it could not withstand the impact. Liang Yu stood at the bow and faced the Broken Army Fiend bandits, declaring loudly, "Fellow Taoists, how many Essence Spirit Stones do you want? Why don't you name a number? Why are you attacking so aggressively?" "Ha ha ha ha." A burst of laughter sounded from the warship in the lead. Immediately after, a burly man in a black cloak walked out. He had a beard and a ferocious gaze as he grinned at Liang Yu. "I want everything from the Black Mirror Sect, including your lives. You're just unlucky to bump into our Broken Army. Better luck next life." Ha 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 ha. Many Fiend bandits roared in laughter. Chapter 2416. 2416 Junior Brother Lin, you're welcome. 2416 Junior Brother Lin, you're welcome. Amidst the laughter of the Fiend bandits, cracks appeared on the protective barrier of Black Mirror Sect's warship, and it could collapse at any moment. "This is bad." Liang Yu's expression was terrible as he turned to Lin Luo and whispered, "To think that the leader of the Broken Army Fiend bandits would appear personally. I'm afraid we won't be able to escape today." "Is he very powerful?" Lin Luo glanced sideways and asked. Liang Yu revealed a bitter smile that was uglier than crying. "The Broken Army has dominated the Jade Firmament Immortal domain for many years and is the most notorious group of Fiend bandits. There are 9 bosses in the Broken Army, and they are all peak grade 9 Heaven Immortal experts. The Broken Army first boss's combat strength is even more terrifying. He has killed countless people and is violent. It's said that he has the strength to be ranked in the Heaven ranking." Lin Luo looked at Liang Yu. "Senior Brother Liang, you're able to get on the Heaven ranking as well, right? Since both of you possess the strength to be on the Heaven ranking, the difference in combat strength between you guys shouldn't be much, right?" Liang Yu's face flushed red as he coughed gently and stammered, "And my strength might be a little far from being worthy of the H Heaven ranking." On the other side, on the warship of the Broken Army Fiend bandits, many people's eyes lit up when they saw Lin Luo. Although she stood in the crowd of Black Mirror Sect, her bearing and appearance were extraordinary. She was like a crane among chickens and would be spotted right away. "Boss, that girl looks good. I'll capture her for you personally later." A man pandered to the bearded, burly man with a smile. Yes, the bearded, burly man nodded. "Look at her tender skin. 7, you're clumsy. Be careful not to hurt her." "Don't worry, boss." The 7th boss patted his chest. "Where about the others?" another boss asked. The bearded, burly man swept his gaze across the warship of Black Mirror Sect and waved it off nonchalantly. The boss understood and pointed at Lin Luo from afar, shouting, "Everyone, listen up. Apart from that woman, kill everyone else. Leave no one alive." Boom. Right then, the defensive barrier of Black Mirror Sect's warship dissipated. The Fiend bandits on the warships shouted excitedly and charged over murderously with bloodshot eyes. When the cultivators of Black Mirror sect saw this lineup, they were in no mood to defend. The moment both parties collided, they fled in all directions, instantly defeated. The 6th and 7th bosses of the Broken Army charged towards Liang Yu and Lin Luo as well. "Hurry and leave. I'll hold them back for the time being." Liang Yu shouted at Lin Luo and withdrew the sword on his waist. He summoned an ancient mirror and stopped the two bosses. Scram! The two bosses exerted strength at the same time and released their divine powers and secret skills. Liang Yu's expression changed starkly as he hurriedly released his methods to defend. However, Liang Yu was still slightly inferior in a 1 versus 2 situation. His sword was repelled on the spot, and he retreated continuously, falling into danger instantly. Lin Luo beckoned slightly, and the sword in Liang Yu's hands curved into a beautiful arc, landing in her hands. Since she was unwilling to expose her identity, she naturally would not summon her dermic treasure. Swoosh! Suddenly, a figure barged into Liang Yu and the two bosses. It was graceful like a serpent wyrm, as it wielded a long sword and attacked consecutively. Sword lights rippled continuously like the surface of a lake. After a series of clanging sounds, the sound of collision came to an abrupt stop. Liang Yu, Lin Luo, and the two bosses froze in midair. The next moment, the gazes of the two bosses dimmed and their life forces decreased. A shocking blood scar appeared on their glabella. The two of them fell from midair, and their glabella was pierced by the sword beam. Their essence spirits were destroyed, and they were already dead. MMM? The expression of the bearded, burly man on the warship changed slightly as he focused his gaze. This girl was only a grade 7 heaven immortal. However, her sword technique was sharp and unusually brilliant. In 3 breaths, she killed 2 Broken Army bosses in succession. The bearded, burly man was experienced and knowledgeable, but he had never seen such a terrifying sword technique. Liang Yu of Black Mirror sect was stunned on the spot as well and looked at Lin Luo as though he had seen a ghost. 6th, 7th. What's going on? The remaining few bosses were shocked and shouted. "Boss, we can't let that woman live. We have to kill her and take revenge for our brothers." The 3rd boss grit his teeth in hatred. "Third, watch out," someone warned loudly. A sword beam appeared and flashed beside the 3rd boss, as though it had never appeared. The next moment, the 3rd boss's entire head fell off his neck neatly, and his consciousness was shattered by the sword chi, dying on the spot. Before the group of bosses could join forces, Lin Luo had already closed in with her sword. Although she was a grade 7 heaven immortal, she was the daughter of the human emperor and fairy Ling long after all. She was extremely talented and had powerful combat strength. In fact, she could even kill grade 9 heaven immortals that were 2 minor realms above her. A few Fiend bandits charged forward, wanting to stop Lin Luo but were slashed down by her sword. Lin Luo charged onto the warship as though she did not know it was the enemy's territory. "Jade Jr. brother Lin? What's going on? Why is Junior sister Su?" Liang Yu looked at Su Zimo, who was not far away, and asked with a trembling voice. Su Zimo smiled without saying anything. At that moment, 6 Fiend bandits charged towards Su Zimo as well. Although they were not grade 9 heaven immortals, their cultivation realms were above Su Zimo. Liang Yu was about to step in to help. However, on second thought, he paused and did nothing. To begin with, he viewed Su Zimo as a love rival. If Su Zimo were to die in the hands of the Fiend bandits, it would suit his liking and he would not be to blame. "Junior brother Lin, watch out." At that thought, Liang Yu pretended to remind out of goodwill, but he did not move at all. However, before he could finish his sentence, he saw an incomparably shocking scene. Bang, 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 poof, poof, poof. The 6 Fiend bandits had just arrived before Su Zimo, but he had already attacked before they could release their weapons, divine powers, or secret skills. The moment the seemingly frail scholar attacked, he struck the 6 Fiend bandits with a thunderous might. After a series of bedazzling attacks, the The 6 Fiend bandits died on the spot. Some of their bodies were shattered. Some of their heads were crushed. Some of them were smashed into blood mists without corpses left. Liang Yu's mouth was agape and his eyes widened in shock. Even he would have to spend some effort to deal with the encirclement of the 6 Fiend bandits. However, this frail scholar merely took less than a breath. In melee combat, if even a prince and princess could not defend against Su Zimo's attacks, what could the 6 Fiend bandits do? Right then, Su Zimo arrived beside Liang Yu and extended his palm slowly. Pissed. Looking at that fair and weak palm, Liang Yu felt an unprecedented pressure, as though he was suffocating. His body stiffened, and he could not move at all. He wanted to explain himself, but for some reason, he could not even speak. He could only hear his own violent heartbeat. The palm descended gently. Although there was no shocking divine power or fatal killing intent, Liang Yu felt as though he had just walked through the gates of hell. Su Zimo patted Liang Yu on the shoulder and said with a fake smile, "Thank you for your reminder earlier on, Senior Brother Liang. Junior Brother Lin, you're welcome." Liang Yu's face was pale, and he could not control his voice as it trembled continuously. Before Liang Yu could reply, Su Zimo had already turned to leave. Chapter 2417, 2417 Blame. 2417 Blame. Lin Luo charged into the crowd with a cold sword beam and swerved left and right. Relying on a mysterious footwork, although there were many people in the Broken Army Fiend bandits, they could not hurt her at all. In less than 15 minutes, more than half of the 9 bosses were killed by her, leaving only 3 bosses with ugly expressions and thoughts of retreating. Lin Luo did not attack blindly and start a massacre. Instead, she targeted the 9 bosses of the Broken Army specifically. Although the Broken Army Fiend bandits did not suffer much damage as a whole after the battle broke out, the 9 bosses were scared out of their wits by the killing. The bearded burly man had just noticed the commotion on Su Zimo's side. When he saw Su Zimo walking over as well, a decisive look flashed through his eyes as he ordered in a deep voice, "Retreat." Before his sentence was finished, the other 2 bosses turned and fled. The remaining Broken Army Fiend bandits had the advantage in numbers. However, when they saw the 3 bosses flee far away, they naturally did not dare to linger and dispersed. Lin Luo wielded her sword and smiled as she looked at the fleeing Fiend bandits without any intention of chasing after them. It was unsuitable for her to create unnecessary trouble for this trip to Langfeng City. Lin Luo returned to the worship of Black Mirror sect and handed the sword in her hands back to Liang Yu, who was stunned on the spot. She smiled and said, "Senior Brother Liang, thank you for your dermic treasure. It's truly sharp." Instinctively, Liang Yu reached out and wanted to receive the sword. However, he seemed to have thought of something and his arm trembled before retracting. He smiled embarrassedly. "Junior Sister Su, if you like this sword, please accept it." Lin Luo smiled and handed the sword to Liang Yu. Turning around, she walked towards Su Zimo and said, "Senior brothers, I'll have to trouble you guys to clean up the battlefield. It's only right." Liang Yu said hurriedly, "I'll tidy up everything on the battlefield in a while and send them to your room, Junior Sister Su." Lin Luo returned to her room with Su Zimo and pondered for a moment. These Broken Army Fiend bandits don't seem like they're from the Fiend domain. Yes. Su Zimo nodded as well. Although their methods are violent, their cultivation techniques and secret skills are similar to Immortal sections. Lin Luo said, "Let's ignore it. We'll arrive at Langfeng City in a few days. At that time, we'll activate the teleportation formation and leave." Pausing for a moment, she sighed gently with a hint of worry on her face. "Initially, I had plans to hide my identity and take part in the Immortal Peach Banquet to obtain a good ranking in the Heaven ranking. If I can enter the top 10 of the Heaven ranking, the rewards will definitely be amazing. In fact, I might even get the chance to taste the immortal peaches that bloom and bear fruit once every 100,000 years." Su Zimo asked, "So, why did you give up on that plan?" "Father's injuries have yet to recover. It's better for me to take the 9 Orifices reversion pill and Siraka fruit back as soon as possible." Su Zimo nodded with a hint of admiration in his eyes. The two of them continued cultivating in seclusion in their rooms. The interception of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits was just a small interlude for them, and neither of them took it to heart. After that incident, no one from Black Mirror sect dared to disturb them. Even Liang Yu, who was initially solicitous, did not dare to pester Lin Luo anymore. A few days later, everyone arrived at Langfeng City. Standing on the warship and looking at the Immortal City from afar, one could only see the city wall turn into a black line that extended to both sides on the horizon. There was no end in sight, and one could imagine how massive the Immortal City was. According to Lin Luo, this Immortal City could be considered as one of the largest factions of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, and all the perfected immortals in the world were gathered here. Indeed, an immortal city as such should possess such grandeur. In terms of the number of perfected immortal experts, Langfeng City far surpassed heaven-grade sects and factions such as Heaven and Earth Academy and the Great Gene Immortal Kingdom of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain. For example, Heaven Immortal experts were nothing in Langfeng City. Furthermore, the paragons and experts of the other 4 immortal cities would be gathered at the Immortal Peach Banquet that was held once every 100,000 years. The group from Black Mirror sect was way too ordinary in Langfeng City, and it was difficult for others to notice them. However, they were still targeted the moment they entered Langfeng City. This was the first time that everyone from Black Mirror sect had come to Langfeng City. When they saw the novel sights in the city, the crowd and the lively and spacious streets, they were extremely curious. There were countless unique treasures in the stalls on both sides, and everyone was dazzled. Su Zimo and Lin Luo were the only ones with calm expressions, as though they were not concerned about everything. Lin Luo came from a noble background, and her parents ruled over an immortal kingdom. She was no stranger to the surroundings and was naturally not interested. However, Su Zimo was thinking about something else. He had already realized that his group was being targeted. Although his cultivation realm was not high, his spirit perception was strong, and he could still capture the faint hostility lurking in the surroundings in this crowded street. However, Su Zimo could not determine their identities. Logically speaking, he and Lin Luo had just arrived at the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain and had just entered Langfeng City. They did not know anyone at all, and there was no reason for them to attract strong foes. Could it be that the enemies were not here for them, but Black Mirror sect instead? We're being followed? Su Zimo sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness to remind Lin Luo. Lin Luo was slightly stunned. People came and went in Langfeng City, and spirit consciousnesses were chaotic and intertwined. Even if they released their spirit consciousnesses, it would be difficult to detect anything. Therefore, she did not notice it at all. It was only when Su Zimo reminded her that she gradually became nervous with a grim expression. Right then, not far ahead, an armored squad of immortal soldiers walked towards the group from Black Mirror sect with huge strides and an aggressive aura. It was clear that they were hostile. Su Zimo swept his spirit consciousness and frowned. The immortal soldiers were all grade 9 heaven immortals, and they exuded a steely killing intent. They were clearly much more troublesome to deal with than the Broken Army Fiend Bandits they had encountered previously. It's the Imperial Army Guards of Langfeng City. Isn't that Assistant General Kong Han? What happened to alarm the Imperial Army? These people are going to suffer. I heard that Kong Han is cruel. Anyone who falls into his hands will suffer a fate worse than death. Make way, make way. A few immortal soldiers shouted, and the surrounding cultivators avoided them with wary expressions. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Right then, figures appeared one after another from the buildings, corners, and alleys on both sides of the streets. Expressionlessly, they wielded gigantic ballistae that shone with spirit light and were loaded with arrows, all aimed at Su Zimo and the others. The expressions of everyone from Black Mirror sect changed, and they felt chills run down their spines. Even Su Zimo felt a sense of danger. The arrows that shone with spirit light were clearly specially crafted dermic treasures. Any single ballistae arrow was not weaker than a supreme divine power. What's going on? Liang Yu stood out hurriedly and forced a smile at the surrounding immortal soldiers. Exalted immortals, is there some misunderstanding? Misunderstanding? The man in the lead sneered, and his gaze lingered on Su Zimo and Lin Luo for a moment with a killing intent in his eyes. The person was skinny with triangular eyes and an aquiline nose. His name was Kong Han, and he was an assistant general of Langfeng City. Kong Han said sternly, I suspect that you guys are fiend bandits impersonating as cultivators attending the Immortal Peach Banquet to kill wantonly. It's an unforgivable crime. His words caused an uproar. Chapter 24:18. 24:18 Decisive to kill. 24:18 Decisive to kill. Most of the cultivators that arrived at the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain had experience fighting against fiend bandits and naturally hated them. Upon hearing Kong Han's words, countless hateful gazes gathered on everyone from Black Mirror Sect. Kill them? How dare you come to Langfeng City even after doing that? How arrogant! We have to behead this group of fiend bandits in public as a warning to others. Half of our Beast Heart gang was killed by these fiend bandits. We have to make them pay with blood. Many cultivators scolded angrily, wanting nothing more than to tear everyone from Black Mirror Sect apart. No, it's a misunderstanding. We're cultivators of Black Mirror Sect, not fiend bandits. Liang Yu's face was pale as he tried his best to explain. More and more cultivators gathered, and a crowd surged. The cultivators who arrived later did not know what happened at all. They merely heard the cultivators at the front mention that fiend bandits had infiltrated Langfeng City and were captured before they started cursing with everyone else. The crowd was worked up and their voices rumbled. Against that massive commotion, the voices of the Black Mirror Sect cultivators defending were almost negligible and were drowned in the blink of an eye without anyone paying attention. The ubiquitous pressure surged around them like a tsunami, threatening to engulf everyone from Black Mirror Sect at any moment. At that moment, there was no need for Kong Han and the others to attack. As long as they retreated, the surrounding cultivators would be able to tear everyone from Black Mirror Sect into pieces. A cold smile hung on Kong Han's lips as he looked at the frightened group of Black Mirror Sect cultivators and the surrounding cultivators who were shouting. He was extremely smug. The feeling of being in control of everything gave him a sense of accomplishment. Kong Han's gaze landed on the green-robed scholar and girl from Black Mirror Sect, and he could not help but frown. Unlike the other Black Mirror Sect cultivators, the green-robed scholar had a calm expression. He seemed unusually composed towards the shouts and pressure around him. Even the young girl did not look panicked or fearful. Kong Han's expression darkened. This gave him an imperceptible sense of defeat. He had long known that this man and woman were the strongest in combat in Black Mirror Sect. However, this was Langfeng City. No matter how strong the couple was, they were nothing but fish on a chopping board in his territory. As long as he wanted to, he could kill them at will. Right then, Kong Han realized that there was a hint of mockery in the eyes of the green-robed scholar who was looking at him. Kong Han was instantly agitated by that gaze and was enraged. He was about to give the order to kill everyone from Black Mirror Sect. The moment he spoke, the green-robed scholar on the other end spoke as well. Roar! An incomparably shocking dragon roar burst forth and reverberated through the world. It was so loud that it could penetrate metal and crack rocks with endless might. Under the envelopment of the roar, the surrounding voices were suppressed instantly. It was as though that voice was the only thing in the world. Against that dragon roar, all the cultivators felt a sense of insignificance from the depths of their hearts. Some cultivators even felt an uncontrollable fear and indescribable inferiority. Thud, thud. The immortal soldiers on the surrounding buildings and roofs had pained expressions. The ballistae in their hands fell, and they fell as well. Countless cultivators felt their ears buzz, and their minds went blank. They had long forgotten where they were, and their gazes were dull. A dragon roar sounded, and the world went silent. Su Zimo suppressed the entire long street single-handedly. Kong Han, who was closest to Su Zimo, suffered the greatest impact. He felt a sharp pain in his ears and his blood chi reversed. With a dull grunt, his vision darkened and he almost fainted on the spot. "We're not fiend bandits. What's your motive for slandering us like this?" Su Zimo asked slowly in an indifferent tone. "I slandered?" Kong Han had yet to recover as he grit his teeth. "Look at who I am. Who would someone like me slander you?" "A attack and kill them." Initially, he wanted to bring everyone from Black Mirror sect to the dungeon to torture them. Right now, his killing intent was intensified and he couldn't care less. He only wanted to kill the group of people before him. Everyone from Black Mirror sect had ashen expressions. Liang Yu had a look of despair as well, as though he had lost his parents. In their eyes, the Imperial Army of Langfeng City was an unstoppable existence. "We're truly not fiend bandits. Please investigate properly, Assistant General Kong." Liang Yu was still hoping that this was a misunderstanding and wanted to explain himself. In his opinion, there might be a chance of survival if he could explain things clearly. However, if he actually attacked the Imperial Army, he would be truly heinous and would definitely die. The surrounding immortal soldiers summoned their dermic treasures once more and condensed their divine powers and secret skills. Lin Luo frowned slightly and sighed internally in distress. Initially, she wanted to hide her identity as much as possible. But now, if a conflict broke out, the two of them might not be able to leave this place safely, let alone hide their identities. This was Langfeng City after all. Although there were no Immortal King experts holding down, there were many perfected Immortal experts in the city. She and Su Zimo would not be able to defend against any one of them. Just as Lin Luo was hesitating, Su Zimo was decisive to kill. In a flash, he arrived before Kong Han. "How dare you?" Kong Han had just snapped out of his stupor from the dragon roar when his vision blurred. The green-robed scholar had already arrived before him. He had not expected that the green-robed scholar would dare to attack despite being surrounded by so many people. More than that, he had not expected that someone would dare to attack him in Langfeng City. He only had time to say 3 words before he felt a tremendous impact on his chest and his armor creaked. Immediately after, in front of everyone, his figure was sent flying by Su Zimo. Turning into a black shadow, he smashed into the crowd and rolled dozens of feet away. Kong Han spat out a mouthful of blood and his face turned pale. Although his armor blocked most of the impact, his body was still severely injured and his blood chi was dispersed. His bones seemed to have fallen apart and he was weak. Kong Han fell into the crowd, creating an empty passage. At the end of the empty passage, a bearded burly man was stunned and could not react for a moment as he looked at everything before him. This is bad. By the time he realized that something was amiss, green robes flashed and Su Zimo appeared before him in a strange manner. Teleportation. The bearded burly man's reaction was extremely fast, and he wanted to release his teleportation technique to leave this place. However, Su Zimo's attacks were even faster. His massive spirit consciousness condensed and released an essence spirit secret skill. A thunder whip appeared and whipped the bearded burly man. "All right," the bearded burly man grunted. His cultivation was at the grade 9 Heaven Immortal realm. Although he was impacted by the essence spirit secret skill, he condensed his essence spirit secret skill in time to defend and was not severely injured. However, the defense of the essence spirit secret skill caused his divine powers to dissipate and his teleportation to be interrupted. He remained on the spot and did not leave. Because of that, the bearded burly man lost his final chance to leave. Chapter 2419, 2419 Breaking Out of the Situation. 2419 Breaking Out of the Situation. In melee combat, even grade 9 Heaven Immortals could not defend against the power of the Green Lotus True Body. Su Zimo seemed to have transformed into an anaconda as he coiled around the bearded burly man's body. Exerting strength in his body, he twisted. The bearded burly man's eyes widened, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard from within his body. Poof! Immediately after, His body was completely contorted and spewed out a blood mist. His organs were shattered and his blood chi deteriorated. An essence spirit escaped from the top of his head with a panicked expression. For heaven immortals, it was nothing much to abandon their bodies. As long as their essence blood existed, they could use blood rebirth to reconstruct their bodies before long. However, Su Zimo had long expected the bearded, burly man's reaction. As he minced the latter, he extended his palm that contained countless sword chi, forming a cage. The moment the bearded, burly man's essence spirit escaped, it was trapped in Su Zimo's sword chi cage. Sword chi buzzed with a chilling intent. As long as Su Zimo willed it, the bearded, burly man's essence spirit would be destroyed and he would die. The crowd dispersed hurriedly with shocked expressions. Nobody expected that this green-robed scholar would dare to openly go against the Imperial Army in Langfeng City. Less than that, no one expected that Kong Han, a Grade 9 Heaven Immortal Assistant General of the Imperial Army, would be repelled and injured by Su Zimo right away. What puzzled everyone was why a random bystander in the crowd was suddenly suppressed by Su Zimo. Even his essence spirit was captured and his life was hanging by a thread. What's going on? This lad is truly audacious to dare to resist. That person seems to be a Grade 9 Heaven Immortal as well. How did he get beaten up so badly by this Grade 5 Heaven Immortal in the blink of an eye? The person suppressed by that green-robed scholar looks familiar. The surroundings were noisy and chaotic. Everyone, don't move. Su Zimo restrained the essence spirit of the bearded, burly man and surveyed his surroundings, saying slowly, "The person in my hands is the true Fiend Bandit. Furthermore, he's the first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits." The surrounding commotion quietened down significantly before erupting once more. He really looks like the first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits. Why are the Broken Army Fiend Bandits here in Langfeng City? Many cultivators discussed fervently. Their previous hatred towards everyone from Black Mirror Sect had also faded significantly due to the sudden change. Kong Han sneered with a dark expression. So what if he's from the Broken Army Fiend Bandits? How can we prove that you're not one of them as well? That's right. Another cultivator shouted. Fiend Bandits are vicious and sinister. How can you guys do something like killing one another to protect your lives? Fufu. Su Zimo laughed with a relaxed expression. He was puzzled when Kong Han and the others appeared and stopped them. He and Lin Luo had only arrived at the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain for a few days. Along the way, they did not interact with anyone at all, let alone offend the Imperial Army in Langfeng City. If the two of them had any grudges with anyone in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, it would probably be with the Fiend Bandits they encountered along the way. Earlier on, Su Zimo's spirit perception caught a strong sense of hostility in the crowd. He released his spirit consciousness secretly and locked onto the person right away, realizing that it was the first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits. The fact that this person appeared in Langfeng City the same time Kong Han led the Imperial Army to stop them was way too coincidental. Su Zimo quickly thought of a possibility. Therefore, he made a prompt decision to suppress the bearded burly man and seize the initiative. Su Zimo said indifferently, "This matter is simple. As long as I use the soul-searching art on him, the truth will be revealed." The group from Black Mirror Sect had a huge conflict with the Breaking Army Fiend Bandits previously. As long as that memory was displayed, it was enough to prove the identity of Su Zimo and the others. However, Kong Han's expression changed. If the memories of the bearded burly man were to be revealed, the matter of the Imperial Army colluding with bandits in the Immortal City would be exposed as well. It would have an extremely negative impact on Langfeng City and even the 5 cities, 12 towers, and the Jade Firmament Palace. Kong Han's killing intent rose instantly as he grit his teeth with a ferocious gaze. Everyone, listen up. Black Mirror Sect and the Fiend Bandits joined forces to infiltrate Langfeng City with evil intentions. They even dare to openly go against the Imperial Army of the Immortal City. Their crimes are unforgivable and will kill them without mercy. His military order was not only to kill Su Zimo and the others, but also to silence the bearded, burly man. When Su Zimo saw Kong Han's reaction, he knew that he was not wrong. The Broken Army Fiend Bandits were indeed colluding with the Imperial Army in Langfeng City, incinerating Firmament Boiling Sea, Firmament Slash, Steel Cavalry. One after another, supreme divine powers burst forth from the long street and many dermic treasures streaked. Sword chi spread and the battle was ignited instantly. Su Zimo was able to injure Kong Han in melee combat in part due to the surprise factor. In reality, his cultivation had just advanced to become a Grade 5 Heaven Immortal. If it was a head-on clash of divine powers, he would not be able to defend against the combined attacks of so many Grade 9 Heaven Immortals. Furthermore, this was Langfeng City. If he were to start a massacre here, the consequences would be unimaginable. It would be extremely difficult for him and Lin Luo to leave again. Su Zimo released Ethereal Wings, Zephyr Thunder Wings, Heavenly Feet, and many other movement techniques and secret skills. At the same time, he released his innate divine powers and spread his rock wings. Behind him, 3 pairs of gigantic wings spread open. In a flash, he transformed into a golden streak of light and left the battlefield instantly. The number of Imperial Army soldiers gathered increased, and their attacks intensified. Although Su Zimo could dominate the battlefield with his incredible speed, there was no way he could be completely unharmed. In the blink of an eye, his body suffered the impact of a few divine powers and dermic treasures. Thankfully, he had the Green Lotus True Body, and his powerful regeneration capabilities healed his wounds wildly. Everyone from Black Mirror Sect, including Liang Yu, did not dare to move on the long street. They kept mum out of fear and did not dare to attack the Imperial Army of Langfeng City. Kong Han merely glared at everyone from Black Mirror Sect coldly in disdain and ignored them. In his opinion, these people were merely ants that could be crushed at any moment. Right now, the most important thing was to get rid of that troublesome green-robed scholar. However, Kong Han neglected someone. Su Zimo attracted almost all the attacks of the Imperial Army in Langfeng City. Even Kong Han had forgotten that there was a young girl standing beside Su Zimo. Kong Han glared at Su Zimo, who was in midair. Just as he was about to attack again, he felt a strong sense of danger. This is bad. Kong Han's heart sank. Just as he was about to escape, he felt a chill run down his spine. Immediately after, he felt a sharp pain behind his head. "You had better not move." A cold and emotionless voice sounded in his ears. Lin Luo stood behind Kong Han with a long sword in her hands. The tip of the sword was at the back of Kong Han's head, and she could pierce the latter's head with a little force. The Essence Spirit would not even have a chance to escape. Although Su Zimo and Lin Luo did not discuss it, they had an unusual chemistry. Su Zimo attacked and suppressed the first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits. As for Lin Luo, she suppressed Kong Han right away. If the two of them landed in their hands, they would be able to break through the current situation and survive. Chapter 2420, 2420 Heaven Immortal by You. 2420 Heaven Immortal by You. Kong Han had no choice under Lin Luo's sword. When the other immortal soldiers saw that, they stopped one after another with hesitant expressions. "You dare to kill me in Langfeng City?" Kong Han said coldly without turning back. Although he was restrained by Lin Luo, his tone was still extremely unyielding and threatening. "You can try me." Lin Luo did not argue with him and merely replied casually. At the same time, she extended the sword in her hands slightly. The sharp tip of the sword pierced the back of Kong Han's head instantly, and blood seeped out slowly. Kong Han's heart skipped a beat, and he became obedient immediately, remaining silent. Su Zimo looked at Kong Han and raised his voice. Assistant General Kong here was so nervous that he even wanted to kill the first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits to silence the latter. "What are you worried about?" "Silence? I don't understand." Kong Han said coldly, "My duty is to guard Langfeng City. Naturally, I have to get rid of all the Fiend Bandits that infiltrated the city." "Is that so?" Su Zimo chuckled and mocked. Assistant General Kong, you're so powerful. Why didn't you discover this person previously until I captured him from the crowd? Don't tell me you have some shameful collusions with this first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits? Kong Han's expression was terrible, and he remained silent. After that battle, the surrounding cultivators gradually calmed down. Anyone who was slightly smarter could tell that something was amiss. However, this matter was way too terrifying and had already exceeded the imagination of many cultivators. Fiend bandits of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain colluding with an assistant general of Langfeng City? Was this done by Kong Han alone? Or were there other cultivators involved and the 5 cities and 12 towers were in silent approval of it? If that was true, was it something that happened recently or was ongoing for a long time? If one thought about it carefully, they would feel a chilling intent. Right then, a shout sounded from afar. Immediately after, a white light arrived before them in the blink of an eye, revealing his figure. It was a young man in white feathered robes that shone with a mysterious glow. He had a haughty expression and a powerful aura. Heaven Immortal by you. So, he's Heaven Immortal by you. Legend has it that he's the #1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City. That's not all. The combat strength of Heaven Immortal by you is definitely ranked in the top 3 of the Heaven ranking. He even has a chance of fighting for the #1 spot of the Immortal Peach Banquet this time round. A series of exclamations sounded from the crowd, and many cultivators looked at the man with awe and admiration. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Although Heaven Immortal by you and Kong Han were both grade 9 Heaven Immortals and had the same cultivation realm, the pressure the former gave Su Zimo was clearly much stronger. In the Pure Jade manual, the reason why he could fight against a prince and princess and even gain the upper hand was partly because of the restrictions of the Jade Pure Palace. Also, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were only grade 7 Heaven Immortals and could not be considered as top Heaven Immortal experts. If this Heaven Immortal, who was known as the #1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City, could still be ranked in the top 3 of the Heaven ranking, he would be much more troublesome to deal with than Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian, who were grade 7 Heaven Immortals. It could be said that Heaven Immortal by you was the paragon and monster incarnate of the grade 9 Heaven Immortals. Right now, Su Zimo was a grade 5 Heaven Immortal. There was a difference of 4 minor realms between them, and the difference in strength was huge and difficult to make up for. So, it's just 2 nobodies. Heaven Immortal by you could not help but sneer when he saw Su Zimo and Lin Luo's cultivation realms. The 2 of you really think that Langfeng City is weak? How dare a grade 5 Heaven Immortal and a grade 6 Heaven Immortal behave so atrociously in the city? Die. Heaven Immortal by you did not give Su Zimo a chance to speak and attacked right away. Sure. He and feathers fell off his white feathered robe one after another, turning into thousands of white beams that enveloped Su Zimo. The speed of the white feathers was extremely fast and covered the skies with a bedazzling light. The surrounding cultivators were shocked. Heaven Immortal by you did not show any mercy at all. He's going to kill that green-robed scholar instantly. I heard that this is one of the secret skills of Heaven Immortal by you. Any single white feather is comparable to a top-tier dermic treasure, let alone thousands of white feathers released at the same time. After the secret skill, that green-robed scholar won't even have bones left. Just as everyone was discussing, 6 gigantic white elephant tusks suddenly grew behind Su Zimo, emitting a mysterious power. Su Zimo's aura surged as well. Immediately after, Su Zimo closed 2 fingers and conjured his finger sword, slashing forward gently. Chi. Beams of sword chi spewed out in a vast expanse of white. The temperature in the world dipped with a chilling killing intent. Countless stars appeared in the skies above Langfeng City and moved continuously with chaotic trajectories. When the heaven's killing intent is released, the stars are shifted out of alignment. Thousands of heaven-slaying sword chi burst forth with a massive might and collided against the immortal light of the incoming white feathers, letting out tinkling sounds as sparks flew. What a powerful sword art! Such a ferocious killing intent is unprecedented. Could it be the legendary heaven-slaying sword art? The moment that sentence was said, the crowd fell into a momentary silence before an even louder commotion broke out. That's right. Only the heaven-slaying sword art can possess such might. What's the background of this person? To think that he wields the heaven-slaying sword art. He's only a grade 5 heaven immortal, but he's able to defend against heaven immortal by you. In midair. When Su Zimo released the six-tusk divine strength, the essence chi and strength in his body increased exponentially and had even reached the level of a grade 6 heaven immortal. The essence chi of the green lotus true body was rich and pure, and it was not a problem for him to fight across two cultivation realms. However, there was still a difference in strength between him and heaven immortal by you. Thankfully, he had a powerful secret skill like the heaven-slaying sword chi to make up for the difference and managed to defend against heaven immortal by Yu's attack. Heaven-slaying sword art? When heaven immortal by Yu saw that Su Zimo was safe and sound, he was not enraged. Instead, his eyes lit up as he shouted, "The heaven-slaying sword art is truly a pearl covered in dust in your hands. How can a grade 5 heaven immortal be worthy of such a sword art?" Heaven immortal by Yu was delighted. In his eyes, Su Zimo was an opportunity that came knocking on his door. As long as he killed Su Zimo and obtained the heaven-slaying sword art, he could seize the opportunity to cultivate it. At the Immortal Peach Banquet, he would definitely be able to sweep through everyone of the same cultivation realm and obtain the top of the heaven ranking. Die. Heaven Immortal by Yu attacked excitedly once more. This time round, his attacks were even more ferocious. Divine powers, secret skills, immortal arts, and dermic treasures poured out like a storm. When Lin Luo saw that, she was a little anxious. Gripping her sword tightly, she threatened Kong Han. "Hurry and give the order for him to stop or I'll kill you." Hee. Kong Han gave a strange laugh. "Little girl, Heaven Immortal by Yu is the #1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City. I'm only an assistant general. How am I qualified to order him around? If you're worried about your Dao companion, let me go. If you join forces with him, you might have a chance to deal with Heaven Immortal by Yu." "Shut up," Lin Luo hollered softly. Suppressing Kong Han was equivalent to suppressing the Imperial Army in the surroundings. There was no way Lin Luo would let this person off so easily. However, on the other side, Su Zimo seemed to be unable to hold on against Bai Yu's attacks, and the situation was bad. Chapter 24-21, 24-21 Disappearance of Magnificence, 24-21 Disappearance of Magnificence. On the battlefield, Su Zimo was completely overwhelmed, as though he could be suppressed at any moment. Su Zimo's expression turned cold. Up till this point of the battle, he was disadvantaged and had been defending almost the entire time. It was not because he did not have any trump cards to counterattack. If he was alone, he would naturally have no qualms about advancing or retreating. But now, he had Lin Luo by his side. He did not want to cause too much trouble and implicate Lin Luo, causing the two of them to be trapped here. Initially, they were on the side of reason in this conflict. If he were to start a massacre in Langfeng City, it would be difficult to explain things clearly. This was the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. He and Lin Luo were in a foreign land and could not act rashly without considering the consequences. There were many perfected immortals presiding over Langfeng City. Any single one of them would cause unpredictable consequences. Narrowing his gaze, Su Zimo glared at Heaven Immortal Bai Yu, who was still attacking him, and said in a deep voice, "Bai Yu, the essence spirit of the Breaking Army's first boss is in my hands. As long as I search his soul, the truth will naturally be revealed." Humph. Heaven Immortal Bai Yu sneered. "I don't care about the truth. The two of you bastards deserve to die for openly going against the Imperial Army in Langfeng City." Heaven Immortal Bai Yu had no intention of stopping his attacks and continued spouting filthy words. Su Zimo's expression was dark. From the beginning of the conflict till now, although he and Lin Luo attacked, they restrained themselves and tried their best to take into account the big picture. Although Su Zimo injured Kong Han, it was clear that he held back and did not take advantage of the situation to chase after him. Lin Luo merely restrained Kong Han as well, and none of the surrounding Imperial Army soldiers died. But now, Heaven Immortal by Yu's aggressiveness made Su Zimo increasingly impatient. Don't push your luck. Ha 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 ha. Su Zimo's words caused a series of laughter in the surrounding crowd. Did I hear wrongly? This Grade 5 Heaven Immortal is actually threatening Heaven Immortal by Yu? He lost his mind after being forced into a corner. That's why he's spouting nonsense. The initially tense atmosphere relaxed significantly after the mockery of his words began. Kong Han, who was under Lin Luo's sword, sneered as well and pouted. Not only is your Dao companion bold, he's also arrogant. He truly doesn't know when he's at death's door. Mind your own business first. The sword in Lin Luo's hand vibrated as she hollered. On the battlefield. When Heaven Immortal by Yu heard Su Zimo's threat, he burst into laughter. Bastard. So what if I want to push my luck? What can you do to me? Su Zimo's gaze turned cold. Suddenly, he stopped in his tracks and channeled his spirit consciousness wildly. He conjured divine powers with both hands and pointed at Heaven Immortal by Yu. Fleeting moment. Su Zimo spat out 2 words gently. An incredible divine power descended instantly and struck Heaven Immortal by Yu. Heaven Immortal by Yu frowned with a grim expression. Time divine power, be it in terms of talent, combat strength, or knowledge, the #1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City naturally surpassed others. After Su Zimo's supreme divine power was released, Heaven Immortal by Yu could sense the power contained in fleeting moment. He did not dare to be careless. All-time divine powers were extremely powerful and could not be underestimated. Feather Immortal Ascension. Heaven Immortal by Yu made a prompt decision and released his trump card as well. White feathers fell off from his body one after another and transformed into streams of immortal chi that gathered and circled around him, as though they wanted to carry him to ascend in daylight. Normally speaking, fleeting moment was only a supreme divine power. Most supreme divine powers, including Feather Immortal Ascension, were enough to defend against and neutralize the power of time within. However, just as fleeting moment and Feather Immortal Ascension were clashing, a strange drumbeat sounded beside Heaven Immortal by Yu's ears. The sound of the drum was not shocking or loud. Instead, it seemed long and drawn out. In fact, it even had a hint of twilight and lifelessness. This is... Heaven Immortal by Yu was stunned for a moment. Immediately after, he felt his lifespan decrease rapidly at an unimaginable speed. There was only endless fear in Heaven Immortal by Yu's eyes. Boom, boom, boom. Heaven Immortal by Yu released another supreme divine power followed by a secret skill. He tore apart a talisman and unleashed a sound domain secret skill as well. In that instant, Heaven Immortal by Yu released almost all his trump cards. The surrounding cultivators were stunned as they looked at Heaven Immortal by Yu. He stood on the spot and released many trump cards, as though he had gone mad from experiencing a great shock. But soon, the gazes of many cultivators changed. In midair, Heaven Immortal by Yu panted heavily. The fear in his eyes and the panic on his face did not dissipate. The power of the supreme divine power finally dissipated. The mysterious and distant drumbeat vanished completely as well. The crisis was resolved. Heaven Immortal by Yu felt a sense of joy from escaping death. He could guarantee that if he had reacted slower earlier on, he might have been a corpse by now. What a terrifying divine power. He had to release so many trump cards to negate it. Heaven Immortal by Yu's heart turned cold as he raised his head instinctively and looked towards Su Zimo. Strangely, the green-robed scholar did not continue attacking him. Instead, he stood with his hands behind his back and looked at him indifferently as well. Fufu. Heaven Immortal by Yu forced a smile. That was your final trump card, right? Unfortunately, I managed to defend against it. If that's all you've got, you'll die next. Heaven Immortal by Yu perked up once more and said murderously. Even so, he felt that something was not right with his body. Su Zimo was still motionless with a mocking look in his eyes. Heaven Immortal by Yu's heart sank. Suddenly, He realized that his surroundings were unusually quiet, as though everyone had gone silent. He looked over instinctively. Countless cultivators in the surroundings were looking at him with strange gazes, seemingly in pity, fear. Heaven Immortal Bayou took a deep breath and suddenly realized that his blood chi was much weaker than before. Initially, he thought that he had expended too much energy in the battle earlier on, but now, something seemed to be amiss. A gentle breeze blew, and a strand of long hair on Heaven Immortal Bayou's forehead brushed past his eyes gently. It was a strand of grayish-white hair. Heaven Immortal Bayou looked at his hands. The skin on his palm was no longer fair and smooth. Instead, it looked rough and dark, filled with dense old wrinkles. "My lifespan," Heaven Immortal Bayou murmured softly with widened eyes. He was originally 150,000 years old and was at his peak for a Heaven Immortal with a lifespan of 300,000 years. But now, he only had 20,000 years to live. Instantly, his magnificence had disappeared. Right now, the person standing in midair was no longer the number 1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City, but an old man in his twilight years. Chapter 2422, 2422 Identity, 2422 Identity. The long street was silent as everyone looked at Heaven Immortal Bayou with pity. Earlier on, the Grade 9 Heaven Immortal before them was still the domineering and insufferably arrogant number 1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City. However, in the blink of an eye, he had already become an old man in his twilight years. His sharpness was no longer present, and he stood in midair dejectedly with a lifeless aura. Heaven Immortal Bayou was not dead. However, everyone knew that he was no longer the number 1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City, nor was he qualified to fight for the Heaven ranking. Instantly, all the glory of this paragon vanished. Such a blow crushed Heaven Immortal Bayou completely. Many people looked at Su Zimo with shock on their faces. This seemingly frail scholar, a Grade 5 Heaven Immortal, merely released a single supreme divine power and dragged Heaven Immortal Bayou down from his pedestal. Who was he? Given his capabilities and talent, he shouldn't be a nobody. Why hadn't they heard of him before? In midair, Su Zimo was also recalling the process of releasing Fleeting Moment. Under normal circumstances, Fleeting Moment alone was not enough to threaten Heaven Immortal Bayou. However, in the Jade Pure Jade Manual, which was also the Pure Magnificence Heaven, he experienced the baptism of the Twilight Drum and Dawn Bell. The sound of the Twilight Drum had something in common with Fleeting Moment in terms of Dharmic Tao. Therefore, for the past few days, Su Zimo had been trying to fuse the sound of the Twilight Drum into Fleeting Moment. However, the fusion of the two divine powers was not perfect. The sound of the Twilight Drum only sounded after the power of Fleeting Moment descended. Even so, the combination of the two divine powers produced an extremely terrifying lethality. When Heaven Immortal Bayou was a tad slower to react, his lifespan decreased by more than 100,000 years. He released a few more divine powers and secret skills in succession before dispelling the power of Fleeting Moment completely. In fact, it might even reach the level of a peerless divine power. At that time, no matter how many supreme divine powers Heaven Immortal Bayou released, he would not be able to defend against the impact of Fleeting Moment. Kong Han, who was under Lin Luo's sword, felt a sense of trepidation. If that supreme divine power landed on him, he would die even if he had 10 lives. Su Zimo took a deep breath of air. When he saw that the situation had calmed down, he took out the essence spirit of the first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits from his storage bag. "I'll use the soul-searching art on this person. The truth shall be exposed in public. Everyone, you can bear witness." As Su Zimo said that, black lines appeared in the ball of light in his hands and entered the bearded burly man's essence spirit. Kong Han looked nervous. If the bearded burly man's memories were exposed, the reputation of the Imperial Army would suffer a huge blow. Right then, a tremendous might descended like dark clouds, causing one's heart to tremble. This power, Su Zimo frowned. A perfected immortal expert. As though he sensed something, Su Zimo glanced at the essence spirit in his hands instinctively. Indeed, because of the invasion of that might, his soul-searching art on the bearded burly man had failed. It was easy for accidents to happen during the soul-searching process, let alone when it was disturbed by external forces. Although the soul-searching art failed, the essence spirit of the first boss of the Broken Army Fiend Bandits was weak and his life force was almost non-existent. He could no longer survive. In the end, the secret in this person's memories could not be made public. Suddenly, a chill ran down Su Zimo's spine, as though he was targeted by some terrifying expert. Unknowingly, a man in heavy armor had already arrived and was standing behind Su Zimo with a cold expression and indifferent gaze. "Greetings, Commander Jiang." The surrounding Imperial Army soldiers knelt on one knee and shouted with their heads lowered. One of the commanders of Langfeng City's Imperial Army, Jiang Xinyu, Kong Han, looked at Su Zimo with a mocking expression. In his opinion, Su Zimo was already a dead man. Breaking the order of the Immortal City and fighting against the Imperial Army on the streets is unforgivable. Jiang Xuanyo's gaze was cold as he swept past Su Zimo, Lin Luo, and everyone from Black Mirror Sect without any emotions in his voice. "We're innocent." Unable to withstand the pressure, everyone from Black Mirror Sect knelt on the ground one after another and shouted that they were wronged. Liang Yu panicked as well and explained hurriedly, "Commander, this is a misunderstanding. It has nothing to do with us." Thereafter, he gulped and pointed to Su Zimo and Lin Luo, who were not far away. "It's them. They fought against the Imperial Army. None of us attacked the entire time." When Lin Luo heard that, she pouted. Naturally, she was extremely disdainful towards Liang Yu's reaction. However, she could understand his actions under such pressure. Jiang Xinyu had an indifferent expression and was unmoved. The two of them committed a crime. Naturally, your Black Mirror sect will bear the responsibility together. Right then, Su Zimo took out a sect badge from his storage bag unhurriedly and hung it on his waist. Jiang Xinyu swept his gaze and could not help but frown. "Heaven and Earth Academy?" he murmured softly. Some Heaven Immortal experts might not know the emblem of Heaven and Earth Academy, but as a perfected immortal and commander of Langfeng City, he naturally knew about Heaven and Earth Academy. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, "I'm Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy in the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain." This is indeed a misunderstanding. The conflict broke out because Assistant General Kong slandered us as Fiend Bandits. The fight between me and Heaven Immortal by you is only a spar between cultivators of the same cultivation realm. As a perfected immortal expert, are you going to interfere in this matter, Commander Jiang? Jiang Xinyu cursed internally. Although Heaven and Earth Academy was not in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, it was one of the 4 immortal sects of the Divine Firmament Immortal Domain and was a heaven-grade sect with a deep foundation. The green-robed scholar before him revealed his identity and should be an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy. He could not be a Fiend Bandit. As a perfected immortal expert, he naturally could not attack this person in front of everyone without sufficient reason. Otherwise, it would definitely attract countless criticism. Jiang Xinyu was secretly frustrated. If he had known earlier, he would have killed this lad after appearing and not given him a chance to speak. His gaze shifted to Lin Luo, who was not far away. A thought crossed his mind as he said coldly, "Since you're a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy, I won't hold it against you for now. However, this woman deserves to die for kidnapping an assistant general of our immortal city. She's also a disciple of the Academy." Su Zimo knew that Lin Luo was unwilling to reveal her identity and said hurriedly, "Is that so?" Jiang Xinyu sneered, "Show me your sect badge." Lin Luo looked troubled. How could she have a sect badge of Heaven and Earth Academy? Just as she was hesitating, Jiang Xuanyo's killing intent surged and he arrived beside Lin Luo instantly, hollering, "Bitch, die." Swoosh. Jiang Xinyu attacked and his saber flashed, arriving instantly. This was the attack of a perfected immortal expert with an astonishing speed that even Su Zimo could not react to. Suddenly, Lin Luo sidestepped and 9 mysterious square patterns seemed to appear beneath her feet, avoiding the slash by a hair's breadth. A wisp of black hair fell slowly along with the saber beam. That single hair's breadth was the difference between life and death. Lin Luo was scared out of her wits after escaping death. This was the attack of a perfected immortal expert and was more like an ambush. If not for the footwork imparted to her by her mother, she would have been a corpse. When Jiang Xuanyou's slash landed, he did not continue chasing. Instead, he glared at Lin Luo's feet and frowned. Lin family of the Green Firmament Immortal Domain? Chapter 24-23, 24-23-9 Palace Subtle Steps. 24-23-9 Palace Subtle Steps. Jiang Xuanyu was secretly alarmed. It was clear that the girl had just released the 9 Palace Subtle Steps. It was said that this movement technique came from an ancient great emperor. Every single step was carefully calculated and contained the profoundness of heaven and earth. This movement technique was not fast and had no huge strides. However, one could always navigate through life and death through a hair's breadth. Furthermore, when released, the movement technique would not look panicky in the slightest bit. Instead, it would possess the suaveness of being carefree alongside elegance. Legend has it that the great emperor who created this movement technique was a woman. The 9 Palace Subtle Steps had been lost for many years. However, it reappeared in the heavenly world in this generation and was mastered by an immortal queen of the Green Firmament Immortal Domain. No one else had the chance to cultivate it. Who is Immortal Queen Linglong to you? Jiang Xuanyu asked with a frown. It's none of your business. Lin Luo just had a close brush with death and was still feeling a sense of trepidation. Naturally, she retorted angrily. Jiang Xuanyu harumphed softly, but did not dare to attack again. If this woman was related to Immortal Queen Linglong, her status would be much nobler than an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy. Commander Jiang, retreat. Right then, another voice sounded. When he heard that voice, Jiang Xuanyu shuddered. Seemingly fearful, he knelt down hurriedly in the direction of the voice and bowed. Greetings, City Lord. In midair not far away, a gigantic crane sped over. On its back, a long-haired man stood with his hands behind his back. He was handsome and had an extraordinary aura. The man's hair accessories looked unusual as he either wore or hung some jade accessories on his chest and waist. Su Zimo was sizing up that person as well. The man did not look old, but he was already in the position of the city lord. Although this person was also a perfected immortal, in terms of cultivation realm and aura, he was clearly far superior to Jiang Xuanyu. There were only 5 immortal cities in the entire Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. One could imagine how capable this person was to be the city lord of one of the immortal cities and control a group of perfected immortals. Lin Luo sent a voice transmission to Su Zimo's spirit consciousness. Su Zimo asked, "You know him?" Lin Luo said, "We've met once. He fought my brother before, and they were evenly matched. He's considered as one of my brother's opponents for the perfected immortal ranking at the 9 Firmament Immortal Domain meet later on." Su Zimo nodded to himself. "Sister Lin Luo, why didn't you inform in advance that you were arriving here?" Song Xian stood on the crane and shook his head gently. "Thankfully you weren't injured. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to explain things when I see your brother again." He looked at Lin Luo in a somewhat reproachful manner, but his tone was gentle, giving off a soothing feeling. Lin Luo smiled sweetly as well. "We're just passing by Langfeng City and will leave soon. It's the Immortal Peach Banquet, and the paragons of the 5 cities are gathered here. As the city lord, you must be extremely busy, Senior Brother Song. That's why we didn't disturb you at your residence. However, I didn't expect that some misunderstandings would happen the moment I entered the city. In the end, you were still bothered, Senior Brother Song." As the daughter of the human emperor, Lin Luo replied politely as well. Even though she nearly died in the conflict earlier on, she merely brushed it off casually and had no intention of pursuing things. Song Xian's gaze landed on Jiang Xuanyu, Kong Han, and the others. His expression darkened as he hollered softly, "Do you guys know your mistakes?" Kong Han opened his mouth and wanted to argue. On the other side, Jiang Xinyu was extremely decisive and lowered his head. "I know my mistake. City Lord, please punish me." Kong Han knelt down hurriedly as well, not daring to say anything. "It's good that you're repentant." Song Xian nodded slightly. Thankfully, Sister Lin Luo is unharmed and the matter did not escalate gravely. Otherwise, it won't be enough even if you have to pay with your lives. "You're making things sound too serious, Senior Brother Song," Lin Luo said with a smile. Su Zimo watched coldly from the sidelines without saying anything. Although the City Lord of Langfeng City said it sternly and nicely, in reality, he was not taking it seriously and merely letting them off lightly. Everyone from Black Mirror Sect was long dumbfounded. In that period of time, they experienced unimaginable ups and downs and lingered on the brink of life and death continuously. Liang Yu finally made up his mind to sever ties with Su Zimo and Lin Luo. To think that in the blink of an eye, the two of them seemed to have become the guests of the City Lord of Langfeng City. Sweeping his gaze, Song Xian looked at the despondent Heaven Immortal Bai Yu, who was not far away, and frowned instinctively. He almost could not recognize that person when he looked over. "What's up with him?" Song Xian asked in a deep voice. As the #1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City, Heaven Immortal Bai Yu was also someone he thought highly of and would have a chance to fight for the top 3 of the Heaven ranking this time round. If nothing went wrong, he would definitely be able to advance to the Perfected One realm and become a Perfected Immortal. How did he end up in such a state where his lifespan was almost depleted? "It's him." Assistant General Kong Han jumped out hurriedly and pointed to Su Zimo, who was not far away. He was the one who injured fellow Taoist Bai Yu to such an extent. Song Xian looked at Su Zimo with a calm expression and said indifferently, "So, you're a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy. How capable." His attitude towards Su Zimo was clearly different from towards Lin Luo. It was much colder. "City Lord, about this matter." Kong Han probed in a testing manner. Sensing that the atmosphere was amiss, Lin Luo said hurriedly, "Earlier on, Su Zimo and Heaven Immortal Bai Yu fought fairly and no one interfered." "Yes?" Song Xian nodded and said in a low voice, "Since it was a fair fight, it's Bai Yu's fault for being inferior to others. He can't blame anyone for ending up in such a state." Given his status, an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy was nothing to him. Even if he killed the latter, there would not be much trouble. However, if he attacked a grade 5 Heaven Immortal without any reason in front of everyone, it would definitely attract criticism. "The two of you, follow me?" Song Xian beckoned. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo and nodded slightly. Now that their identities were exposed, there was naturally no need for them to be secretive. In a flash, the two of them soared into the air and stood on the back of the gigantic crane. Song Xian tapped his feet gently, and the crane flapped its wings, speeding forward. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a spot of light and disappeared from everyone's line of sight. After the dust settled, the surrounding cultivators on the long street gradually dispersed as well. Liang Yu lamented internally. If he had not cut off ties with Su Zimo and Lin Luo earlier on, he might have had the chance to travel with the City Lord of Langfeng City now. Right then, the Imperial army that was initially surrounding them closed in once more, led by Kong Han. Liang Yu's heart skipped a beat as he asked hurriedly, "Assistant General Kong Han, what are you doing?" "It was all a misunderstanding earlier on. We're not Fiend bandits." "Humph." Kong Han sneered. "It might be a misunderstanding with those two, but it might not be the same as you guys. Arrest them and bring them back to the dungeon. I'm going to interrogate them personally." This time round, he was filled with pent-up anger and nearly died in Lin Luo's hands. He was frustrated and had nowhere to vent. Furthermore, everyone from Black Mirror Sect had most likely guessed that they were colluding with the Fiend bandits. There was no way he could let them leave. Chapter 2424, 2424 Song Xian Scheme. 2424 Song Xian Scheme. The crane was extremely fast and arrived at a majestic palace with the three of them on its back in less than 15 minutes. The surroundings were a garden with winding stone paths and ancient trees with green bamboo and vines. Everywhere was filled with life and green. The scenery was pleasant. Song Xian led the two of them through the garden. There were fake mountains and courtyards everywhere with flowing water. From time to time, fish with golden scales would leap up from the lake. It was clear that they were extraordinary. Before long, the three of them arrived at a courtyard and Song Xian smiled gently. Right now, it's the Immortal Peach Banquet and it's considered a rare event in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain. Once the time for the heaven ranking arrives, it's inevitable that paragons and monster incarnates will battle one another. The two of you came at the right time. Why don't you rest here for a few days? Su Zimo and Lin Luo exchanged glances. Both could read the other's mind and could not help but frown. Song Xian smiled. Don't worry, this is the city lord's residence, and there won't be any danger. You can rest easy. Lin Luo smiled. Thank you for your kind intentions, senior brother Song. However, the two of us have something else on and want to make use of the teleportation formation in Langfeng City to leave. What's the hurry? Song Xian said. If the two of you leave today, it'll seem like I was a little negligent and did not receive you well. Pausing for a moment, he looked at Lin Luo. Furthermore, I've nurtured a rare variant blood peach blossom tree over the years. The blood peaches that it bears are about to ripen. Although it can't compare to the immortal peaches of the Jade Firmament Palace, it's also an extremely rare premium item. I can invite Brother Linlei to try it. After the Immortal Peach Banquet is over, the two of you siblings can leave together. Lin Luo's heart skipped a beat as she asked hurriedly, Is my brother coming too? Song Xian replied, I've already sent out my invitation letter. I'm sure it'll arrive soon. Lin Luo lowered her head slightly in hesitation. In the depths of her heart, she truly wanted to return to the Green Firmament Immortal domain right away. However, it was difficult for her to decline Song Xian's kindness now. All right. Lin Luo hesitated for a long time before agreeing reluctantly. Su Zimo remained silent at the side. He had a feeling that something was amiss with the city lord of Langfeng City, but he could not pinpoint what. He had no reaction, and under Song Xian's arrangement, he stayed here temporarily with Lin Luo. Song Xian settled Su Zimo and Lin Luo down before leaving on his crane. He took out a few messenger talismans from his storage bag and sent them out. The White Jade capital in the skies, 5 cities and 12 towers. The so-called 12 towers were not true towers. Instead, they were more like majestic palaces. That was why some people referred to them as the 12 palaces as well. This day, the teleportation formation in the 7th palace flashed and a figure appeared. It was Song Xian of Langfeng City. Greetings, City Lord. The guards guarding the place bowed when they saw Song Xian. One of them asked, City Lord, why are you here? I want to meet my master, Song Xian said in a deep voice. A guard replied, The palace lord is in seclusion and we don't dare to disturb him. City Lord, please. I have something important. With an impatient expression, Song Xian waved his hand and interrupted him, saying in a deep voice, Bring me into the palace. I'll take responsibility if anything happens. The few guards exchanged glances, and one of them led Song Xian into the depths of the 7th palace. A long time later, a hoarse voice sounded from the depths of the 7th palace. What happened for you to have to disturb my seclusion? Please forgive me, master. Song Xian knelt on the ground obediently and said in a deep voice, The Battle King's daughter, Lin Luo, and another Heaven Immortal are in Langfeng City right now. I've already made the decision to keep them here first. Oh. The 7th palace lord murmured softly, as though he recalled something. Continue. Song Xian said, The Battle King is severely injured and is already a cripple. Over the years, the Battle Kingdom of the Green Firmament Immortal Domain has been in a precarious situation with internal and external troubles. Right now, Immortal Queen Ling Long is the only one handling everything single-handedly. She has to protect the Battle King daily while presiding over Battle Kingdom to ensure that it doesn't fall. You're right. The seventh palace lord said, thousands of years ago, for some unknown reason, Ling Long suddenly left the Battle Kingdom for a period of time. Although it did not take long, a rebellion broke out in the Battle Kingdom and enemies invaded, almost causing it to fall apart. Thankfully, Ling Long rushed back in the end and managed to quell the rebellion and chase away the strong foes. Even so, the Battle Kingdom suffered immense losses after that battle. Lin Zhan and Ling Long's right-hand men died in that battle as well. Pausing for a moment, he laughed. Hee hee. Ever since that incident, Ling Long has never left the Battle Kingdom's palace. Song Xian smiled as well. Therefore, as long as Immortal Queen Ling Long leaves the Battle Kingdom's palace once more, the Battle Kingdom will definitely die. Yes. The seventh palace lord said, in the green firmament Immortal domain. The other Immortal Kingdoms have long coveted the Battle Kingdom and wanted to split it up. This is indeed a good opportunity. As long as I contact those Immortal Kings, we'll be able to obtain many benefits once this matter is done. Song Xian said, that's right. The Battle King and Immortal Queen Ling Long came from lowly backgrounds to begin with. Coupled with their nonsensical fight for equality between the lower and upper worlds, they should have been killed a long time ago. Even within the Battle Kingdom, many experts are against them. What are your plans? The seventh palace lord asked. Song Xian said deeply, I've already left Lin Luo in Langfeng City and sent people to guard her. She won't have a chance to leave at all. I'll send a message to Lin Lei later. He'll definitely rush over once he knows his sister is with me. At that time, we can find any excuse to retain the siblings here. I don't believe that Immortal Queen Ling Long will leave them in the lurch. As long as Immortal Queen Ling Long appears in Langfeng City, the few major factions in the Green Firmament Immortal Domain can launch an attack on the Battle Kingdom. At that time, they can join forces with the experts of the Battle Kingdom and collude together. The Battle Kingdom will definitely be annihilated. However, if Immortal Queen Ling Long were to appear in Langfeng City, Song Xian paused for a moment. Don't worry, the seventh palace lord said indifferently, if an Immortal King descends upon Langfeng City, I'll be the first to sense it. At that time, if the few of us palace lords join forces, Fairy Ling Long won't be able to escape even with the 9 palace subtle steps. Master, you're wise. Song Xian flattered hurriedly. This is a good plan. The seventh palace lord said, go back and make the arrangements. I'll inform the few Immortal Kings of the Green Firmament Immortal Domain as well and await the opportunity to attack. Remember, nothing must go wrong in this matter. Do it well. If you succeed, it'll be a great merit. Song Xian was excited and filled with confidence as he said firmly, don't worry, Master. I'll consider every aspect and kill all variables. Right? Suddenly, the seventh palace lord asked, you just said that there's someone else beside Lin Luo. He's... Song Xian did not mind at all. That person is a disciple of Divine Firmament Heaven and Earth Academy. He's just a grade 5 Heaven Immortal and won't be able to cause much trouble. He's nothing to worry about. I see, that's good. Chapter 24-25, 24-25 Blood Peach Blossom Tree. 24-25 Blood Peach Blossom Tree. Langfeng City, City Lord's residence. In a room in a courtyard, Su Zimo and Lin Luo rested respectively with their eyes closed. However, there was a hint of worry on Lin Luo's face, as though she was uneasy. Before long, Su Zimo suddenly opened his eyes and said softly, something's not right. This city lord seems to be too polite to us. Lin Luo turned over as well, seemingly enlightened. Indeed, I've only met him once by fate, and I've never heard my brother mention anything about having any relationship with him. Let's go out and take a look, Su Zimo said and stood up to push the door open. Lin Luo followed quickly. The moment the two of them walked out of the room, they sensed that there were many cultivators guarding the outer perimeter of the courtyard. At the entrance of the courtyard, Su Zimo saw a man in armor not far away. His back was facing them and his arms were crossed. The person turned around slowly. It was one of the commanders of Langfeng City, Jiang Xinyu. Where are the two of you going? Jiang Xinyu asked. Su Zimo replied casually with a calm expression. This our first time in Langfeng City. We're going to walk around. Indeed you should. Zhang Xinyu nodded without saying anything more. However, Su Zimo and Lin Luo did not walk far before they realized that Zhang Xinyu was following closely behind them with a group of Imperial Army soldiers. A moment later, Su Zimo suddenly paused and turned around, smiling at Zhang Xinyu. Commander Zhang, you have an important position. There's no need to bother about us. The two of us are just taking a casual look. Zhang Xinyu said, the city lord has instructed that the two of you are guests of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. He asked me to bring people to protect the two of you and not let anything happen. Lin Luo sneered internally and could not help but say, what danger can there be in Langfeng City? Nothing is absolute. Just in case. Zhang Xinyu said expressionlessly. This did not seem like protection. Instead, it was more like keeping watch on them. Even if they fell out on the spot, it was useless. Zhang Xinyu was a perfected immortal. Even if the two of them joined forces, they were not his match. Furthermore, he was surrounded by a group of Imperial Army soldiers. Su Zimo and Lin Luo took a casual spin around Langfeng City. With Zhang Xinyu and a group of Imperial Army soldiers guarding the surroundings, no one dared to advance rashly and had long retreated far away. Under such circumstances, the two of them were in no mood to stroll and returned to the courtyard early. What is Zhang Xinyu trying to do? When Lin Luo returned to her room, she was enraged and could not help but say, how is he protecting us? He's clearly spying on us. It's probably Song Xian's intention. Su Zimo closed his eyes and sensed for a long time before saying slowly, Zhang Xinyu is not the only perfected immortal in the vicinity of this courtyard. There should be more than 10. Although his spirit consciousness could not detect the perfected immortals, the Green Lotus True Body's 5 senses were sharp and his spirit perception was terrifying. He could vaguely capture more than 10 faint and powerful auras. They arranged for so many perfected immortals? Lin Luo was secretly alarmed and murmured with a grim expression, what is Song Xian trying to do? Su Zimo said deeply, more than 10 perfected immortals are guarding the vicinity. It's probably not as simple as surveillance. It's more like imprisoning us. Imprisonment. Lin Luo's expression changed. As though she recalled something, she hurriedly took out a messenger talisman from her storage bag and whispered, I've got to send a message to my brother and ask him not to come over. Although Lin Luo did not understand Song Xian's intentions, she had already realized that something was amiss and wanted to stop Lin Lei from coming. I'm afraid it's useless. Su Zimo shook his head gently. If Song Xian truly intends to imprison us, he will naturally sever your connection with the outside world. Indeed. Lin Luo silently released a dermic art. After tearing the messenger talisman apart, the contents of the talisman turned into a ball of light. Instead of escaping into the void, they floated in the room. Before long, they dissipated. After the failed message, Lin Luo clenched her fists instinctively. She was worried and had a helpless expression, not knowing what to do. There must be some sort of restriction array formation set up around the courtyard that could prevent messages from being sent. There was no solution to this matter. Even if they left the courtyard, they would be watched by Zhang Xinyu and the other perfected immortals. Even if Lin Luo could take out a messenger talisman, it would be interrupted and she would not be able to send a message. On the other hand, Su Zimo seemed rather calm. In his storage bag, there was a teleportation Jade badge given to him by the sect master of the academy. That was his escape plan. Even if Song Xian was present, as long as he crushed the teleportation Jade badge, he would be able to leave this place with Lin Luo and return to Heaven and Earth Academy, let alone the dozens of perfected immortals. At that time, Lin Luo could make use of the Academy's teleportation formation to return to the Green Firmament Immortal Domain. The teleportation Jade badge was a life-saving method, and he would naturally not take it out right away unless it was absolutely necessary. Just as Su Zimo was about to tell Lin Luo about this and console her, the latter suddenly stood up and whispered, let's go out and test the waters again. We'll say that we'll head to the teleportation formation in the city and see how Zhang Xinyu reacts. Lin Luo was still unwilling to believe this matter and had a sliver of hope. All right. Su Zimo nodded and left the room with Lin Luo, arriving at the entrance of the courtyard. Not far away, Zhang Xinyu welcomed them immediately with a cold expression. Where are the two of you going? Where's the teleportation formation in the city? Lin Luo asked bluntly. A strange look flashed through Zhang Xuanyou's eyes before disappearing rapidly as he said indifferently, It's the Immortal Peach Banquet right now. Due to this special occasion, the teleportation formation in the city is temporarily closed and can't be used. At that point, Lin Luo no longer had any doubts. They were already under Song Xian's house arrest. Zhang Xinyu said, At the Immortal Peach Banquet, the heaven ranking competition that happens once every 100,000 years in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain will be an intense battle. If the two of you are interested, I can accompany you to take a look. Not interested. Lin Luo replied coldly, Let's go. With that said, Su Zimo and Lin Luo turned around and walked towards their rooms. Zhang Xinyu looked at the backs of the two of them with a mocking expression. Raising his brow slightly, he declared, The City Lord said that if the two of you are not interested in the Immortal Peach Banquet, you can take a seat at the Blood Peach Banquet. Over the years, the City Lord has painstakingly nurtured a variant Blood Peach blossom tree. The fruit is about to ripen. If the two of you are interested, I can take you guys to take a look. This is a rare opportunity. Humph. Lin Luo harumphed coldly and continued forward. She was frustrated and worried about her kin. How could she be in the mood to look at a peach blossom tree? However, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he frowned. He gradually stopped in his tracks and narrowed his eyes slightly. His expression was dark, clearly pondering about something. What's going on? Lin Luo asked instinctively when she saw Su Zimo's strange expression. Su Zimo ignored her and turned around slowly. He looked at Zhang Xinyu, who was not far away, and smiled, asking, Commander Zhang, what is up with the blood peach blossom tree you mentioned earlier on? Zhang Xinyu did not think too much about it. The seedling of this immortal peach tree was a superior class item to begin with. After our city lord nourished it with the blood of a humanoid peach blossom spirit, the immortal peach tree underwent a complete transformation and turned into a variant. It's no exaggeration to say that this is the only blood peach blossom tree in the heavenly world and even the entire upper world. Zhang Xinyu raised his head slightly and said proudly. He did not notice that Su Zimo's expression had gradually darkened. Chapter 2426, 2426 Emergence of the Prime Body. 2426 Emergence of the Prime Body. Lin Luo was not interested in the variant blood peach blossom tree at all. However, when she saw that Su Zimo's expression was amiss, she did not say anything and observed silently at the side. Realizing that he had lost his composure, Su Zimo closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Before long, his expression returned to normal. Although he thought of a possibility, it was not completely verified. Su Zimo asked, What was the humanoid peach blossom spirit you mentioned earlier on, Commander Zhang? How did it cause a peach blossom tree immortal seedling to transform once more? Zhang Xinyu said, Throughout history, because of the characteristics of the peach blossom tree race, there have been very few precedents of them taking on human form. It has nothing to do with their cultivation realms. However, this peach blossom tree obtained some sort of opportunity and inherited some dermic Tao. To think that it can transform into a human at will. That's why the city lord calls it the peach blossom spirit. Lin Luo gradually reacted and frowned when she heard that. She could not help but say, This peach blossom tree has already gained sentience and can even transform into a human. It's no different from a human. Isn't it way too cruel for Song Xian to use its blood to nourish and nurture other peach blossom trees? Foo-foo. Zhang Xinyu chuckled and said with a disdainful expression, This peach blossom spirit merely ascended from the lower worlds with a lowly status. The fact that he's given this chance means that the city lord thinks highly of him. This is a gift for him from the city lord. At that point, Su Zimo no longer had any doubts. Previously, he had heard Song Xian mention the blood peach blossom tree once. At that time, he did not think too much about it. Now that Jiang Xinyu mentioned it, he thought of Tao Yao. Tao Yao had ascended a long time ago, even before the prime body. However, there had been no news of him all these years. After all, the 9-firmament immortal domain and even the entire heavenly world were way too huge. Furthermore, the heavenly world was only one of the trichiliocosm. Su Zimo had once thought that Tao Yao might have ascended to the great wilderness because he was a demon. However, just now, he suddenly thought of another possibility. There was an immortal peach tree in the Jade firmament immortal domain that condensed heaven and earth essence chi. In this immortal domain, peach blossom trees were everywhere, and it was more probable that Tao Yao might have been guided here. The possibility of Tao Yao ascending to the Jade firmament immortal domain was the greatest. So, those that ascended from the lower worlds are lowly? Lin Luo's expression turned cold. Jiang Xinyu raised his brows slightly, as though he had just recalled that Lin Luo's parents were both people who had ascended from the lower worlds. He explained, "I misspoke. Someone from the Fiend domain?" Lin Luo frowned. Jiang Xinyu said, "In recent years, a perfected fiend named Desolate Marshal has risen in the Fiend domain. Have you heard of him?" "I have." Lin Luo nodded. News of the battle in the Fiend domain 1,000 years ago spread through the heavenly world one after another. However, almost no one believed the rumors about the 10 heavenly tribulations, as well as how he destroyed a 1,000,000-strong fiend army single-handedly and killed 4 perfected fiends on the perfected fiend ranking, including the supreme perfected fiend. Everything sounded way too exaggerated and had already surpassed the common knowledge of the heavenly world. It was already the limit for an ancient great emperor to trigger 9 heavenly tribulations after entering the perfected one realm. How could there be a 10th heavenly tribulation? After discussing it for a while, many cultivators forgot about it and did not take it to heart. Jiang Xinyu continued, "The Peach Blossom Spirit admitted personally that he came from the same place as Desolate Marshal and was once his Dao child. Since ancient times, immortals and fiends have always been irreconcilable. The fact that the city lord merely used the blood of the Dao child instead of killing him is already benevolent on the part of the city lord." At the side, Su Zimo, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly asked, "Where's the blood peach blossom tree?" "Why? Are you interested?" Jiang Xinyu said, "Not today. The blood peach banquet of the day has already ended. I'll bring the 2 of you over tomorrow to take a look." "All right," Su Zimo replied and turned to leave. By the time he returned to his room, his expression was cold and his eyes were filled with killing intent that was almost spewing out. Lin Luo was shocked when she saw Su Zimo's expression. She had never seen Su Zimo reveal such a terrifying killing intent. Lin Luo pondered for a moment and probed, "Why? You know that peach blossom spirit?" "Yes," Su Zimo replied and did not explain further. He went to the bed and assumed a lotus position, closing his eyes in deep thought. Initially, his plan was to leave this place with Lin Luo using the teleportation Jade badge, given to him by the sect master of the academy if the situation did not seem right. But now that he knew that Tao Yao was imprisoned and was undergoing immense torture, there was no way he could leave with Lin Luo alone. However, at the Blood Peach banquet tomorrow, there would definitely be many perfected immortals present with Song Xian hosting the event. Even if he could see Tao Yao, it would be difficult for him to save the latter. It was even more impossible for him to leave with Lin Luo and Tao Yao under the watchful gazes of Song Xian and the other perfected immortals. The Green Lotus True Body was only a grade 5 heaven immortal. Under such circumstances, his strength was limited. Furthermore, not only did he want to save Tao Yao, he wanted to take revenge for the latter. The situation here could only be resolved if the martial Dao prime body appeared. Under normal circumstances, the 2 true bodies cultivated separately without interfering with one another. Up till this point of his ascension, although the Green Lotus True Body had encountered countless dangers, he had never thought of alarming the martial Dao prime body. However, this matter involved Tao Yao and was extremely important. Su Zimo could not care less and called for the martial Dao prime body who was far away in the Fiend domain. Fiend domain, Tianhuang sect. MMM? In the secret chamber where he cultivated, the martial Tao prime body suddenly opened his eyes. A divine light burst forth from his eyes before dissipating rapidly and returning to normal. Did something happen to Tao Yao? The martial Tao prime body stood up and pushed the door open. All these years, he had been forging the true martial Tao body and was at a critical juncture of seclusion. The true martial Tao body was about to be cultivated to greater mastery. However, when he received the news, the martial Tao prime body did not hesitate at all and gave up on his chance to break through, breaking out of seclusion. Tao Yao's status in his heart was self-evident. On that night many years ago, when Dai Yu imparted her dermic Tao, Su Zimo was not the only one who entered the cultivation world. Tao Yao inherited the dermic Tao as well and synthesized with Zhui Feng's soul to gain sentience. Tao Yao was not only an old friend of Tianhuang mainland, but also a kin who witnessed him step onto the path of cultivation and accompanied him to cultivate until he ascended. Su Zimo was definitely not willing to let Tao Yao get hurt at all. "Master, what happened?" At the entrance of the secret chamber, Heavenly Wolf was agitated by the killing intent of the martial Tao prime body and jolted awake, asking instinctively. The martial Tao prime body glanced sideways in the direction of Feng Santian's secret chamber in seclusion and pondered for a moment without waking him up. According to the news sent by the Green Lotus True Body, although there were many perfected immortals in Langfeng City, there were no immortal kings. If Feng Cantian followed and released the power of an immortal king, there was a high chance that the immortal king experts of the 12 palaces would be alarmed. At that time, the situation would be even more difficult to control. "I'm going out," the martial Tao prime body said before speeding into the distance. Soon, he arrived before the teleportation formation of Tianhuang's sect and activated it. Before long, he arrived at the borders of the Fiend domain and Jade Firmament Immortal domain. The teleportation formations between the 9 Firmament Immortal domain were connected. As long as one had a sect badge and imprinted their spirit consciousness onto it, they could teleport freely. As for the martial Tao prime body, he was from the Fiend domain and could not descend directly to the teleportation formation in Langfeng City. He could only arrive here indirectly before heading to Langfeng City. Chapter 24-27, 24-27 5 City Lords. 24-27 5 City Lords. In the City Lord's residence, Su Zimo and Lin Luo had their own troubles and did not say anything the entire night. The next morning, footsteps sounded from outside. Su Zimo and Lin Luo exchanged glances and stood up to push the door open. Standing at the entrance were Jiang Xianyu and a group of Imperial Army soldiers under his lead. "The two of you, follow me," Jiang Xianyu said and led the way. Su Zimo and Lin Luo followed behind and walked for a while in the City Lord's residence before arriving at a gigantic palace. The design of the palace was a little strange. It was hollow in the middle. From the outside, one could see the center of the palace where the tip of an immortal peach tree was exposed. Under Jiang Xuanyu's lead, Su Zimo and Lin Luo entered the hall. The hall was noisy and bustling. At a glance, thousands of cultivators were gathered and discussing. Most importantly, the thousands of cultivators had powerful auras and were all perfected immortal experts. For the Blood Peach Banquet this time round, Song Xian invited most of the perfected immortals in the 5 cities, and it was a grand scene. Thousands of perfected immortal experts were in the hall. Even if they did nothing, they would form an invisible and powerful aura. Given such a situation, any heaven immortal that appeared here would inevitably feel intimidated. The Imperial Army soldiers who were heaven immortals behind Jiang Xianyu did not dare to advance at all with fearful expressions. Jiang Xianyu sneered internally and looked towards Su Zimo and Lin Luo behind him, wanting to see the two of them embarrass themselves. However, the outcome disappointed him. Lin Luo had a calm expression. It was as though such a lineup could not suppress this young girl. Jiang Xianyu thought about it. After all, Lin Luo was the daughter of an immortal king and had followed him all year round. Naturally, she was experienced and knowledgeable. It was understandable that she had a strong will and a stable Dao heart. What puzzled him was why Su Zimo was so calm and composed as well. Although this lad was from Heaven and Earth Academy, he was only a grade 5 Heaven Immortal. How could an outer sect disciple deal with such a situation? At the front of the crowd stood 5 people. One of them was Song Xian, the city lord of Langfeng City. Zhang Xianyu led Su Zimo and Lin Luo over. Through the crowd, he could see that the peaches on the immortal peach tree had already formed with blood vessels and swayed slightly in a strange manner. Brother Song, it's all thanks to you that I'm lucky enough to get the chance to taste a variant blood peach this time round. Among the 5 of them, a man in blue robes on the left had shoulder-length hair and waved a folding fan made of jade as he chuckled. No problem, Song Xian said. I'm naturally not going to enjoy a variant of such quality alone. The first people I thought of were the 4 of you. The other 4 smiled and expressed their thanks. Lin Luo sent a voice transmission to Su Zimo's spirit consciousness. The other 4 are the city lords of the remaining 4 cities of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. The blue-robed man on the outer left is the city lord of Chionghua City. People call him Young Master Lan Tian. The tall one on the left is the city lord of Xuanpu City, Hong Shan. The person in the middle is Song Xian. The woman on Song Xian's right is the city lord of Jingzhou City, Fairy Nanyang. The skinny man on the outer right is the city lord of Tianyong City, Gu Xiu. Su Zimo nodded to himself. If he was not wrong, the 5 city lords should be the 5 strongest perfected immortals in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. According to the positions of the 5 of them, Song Xian should be the leader. 5 city lords of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain were gathered. Su Zimo and Lin Luo followed behind Zhang Xianyu and passed by a group of perfected immortals before continuing forward. Now that they were closer, they could see things even clearer. Su Zimo's gaze passed by the 5 city lords. In the middle of the hall stood a stone pillar with a skinny figure tied to it by chains, leaning against it tightly. Although the figure's head was lowered and his disheveled hair covered most of his face, Su Zimo recognized at a glance that it was Tao Yao. Tao Yao looked even thinner than in the lower worlds. He was like a bag of bones, and his exposed skin was pale without any color. Even the chains that bound him were thicker than his arm. It was hard to imagine how much torture and pain he had endured over the years. Tao Yao was different from all the cultivators in the world. Up till this point of his cultivation, Tao Yao's hands had not been tainted by any blood. He had fought with others, and even devoured a large amount of life force essence and blood to cultivate. However, he had never killed any living being. Be it whether the other party was good or evil, immortal or fiend, Tao Yao had never killed them. No matter good or evil, which of the living beings of the 10,000 races that could ascend from the lower worlds did not have blood in their hands? Which of them didn't have corpses strewn beneath their feet? However, Tao Yao was a variable to begin with. He had never killed humans and his body was not tainted by karma. Even if someone released the Red Lotus karmic fire on Tao Yao, it would be useless. Such a pure-hearted child who could not bear to kill and did not get involved in karma was enduring such pain at the moment. Immediately after, Su Zimo saw another scene and could not help but shudder with a cold, killing intent in his eyes. The immortal peach tree in the middle of the hall released slender branches that extended to the stone pillar and pierced into Tao Yao's body. Every single branch was like a bloodthirsty worm that was devouring Tao Yao's blood in huge mouthfuls. Tao Yao had long fainted. At that moment, he was trapped on the stone pillar and his body twitched unconsciously. Even though Lin Luo and Tao Yao did not know one another, she could not help but frown as well when she saw that. Sensing the killing intent from Su Zimo, Lin Luo was alarmed and grabbed his hand hurriedly. Su Zimo glanced sideways with bloodshot eyes. Lin Luo looked into his eyes and shook her head gently, indicating for him to not be reckless. If Su Zimo were to rush forward and fight with all his might, he would be killed on the spot before he could even touch Song Xian's clothes. Any one of the thousands of perfected immortal experts was enough to kill Su Zimo. Su Zimo closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying his best to compose himself. Indeed, The Green Lotus True Body could not save Tao Yao and could only wait for the Martial Dao Prime Body to descend. Even if the Martial Dao Prime Body sped at full speed towards Langfeng City after he entered the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, he would only arrive after a while. Although Su Zimo had retracted his killing intent, Song Xian's senses were extremely sharp. As though he sensed something, he turned back. After discovering nothing, Song Xian turned around and waved his hand gently, berating, "All right, that's enough. Don't suck this peach blossom spirit to death." The immortal peach tree seemed to understand what Song Xian meant. Although it was unwilling, it retracted its branches bit by bit. Instantly, a few bloodied holes appeared on Tao Yao's body. However, his physique was strong and his bloodline was extraordinary. Before long, the bloodied holes coagulated and stopped bleeding. Chapter 2428, 2428 Calamity. 2428 Calamity. When the city lord of Xuanpu City, Hongshan, saw that, a strange look flashed through his eyes. Realizing that Tao Yao was extraordinary, he suddenly said, "Brother Song, the blood peach blossom tree has already ripened. Since this peach blossom spirit is useless to you, how about giving it to me? Of course, I can use treasures in exchange. It depends on what you need, Brother Song." Song Xian smiled gently. "Brother Hongshan, this peach blossom spirit is rare in the world and its endowment and talent are all superior class. It's a priceless treasure and I can't bear to give it to someone else." When he heard Song Xian's resolute tone, Hongshan burst into laughter and did not mention anything more. Song Xian turned around and looked at the thousands of perfected immortals who were already seated in the hall. He raised his voice and said, "Fellow Taoists, the number of blood peaches is limited. I apologize, but the blood peaches will have to be shared." "City Lord Song, you're too kind." "Thank you, City Lord." Thousands of perfected immortals said softly. Song Xian beckoned and a group of young women carrying jade trays entered the hall one after another. On the trays were sliced blood peaches. The surface of the fruit was filled with blood, and the juice was a sticky blood red. However, it emitted a rich fragrance and life force. Thousands of perfected immortals looked at the blood peaches on the tray with excited expressions and burning gazes. Even the fruits of an ordinary immortal peach tree could extend a cultivator's lifespan, strengthen their physique and true essence. A variant blood peach like this would definitely provide an even more obvious boost for everyone. Su Zimo's expression was cold, and he remained silent. Lin Luo looked at the blood peaches and frowned. At the thought that the blood peaches were born from the blood of the skinny boy, she felt disgusted and a deep look of repulse flashed through her eyes. "The four of you don't have to worry." Song Xian looked at Hongshan, young Master Lan Tian, and the other two and smiled. "Given our relationship, the four of you will naturally be able to get to taste a complete blood peach." "Thank you, Brother Song." Young Master Lan Tian waved his fan. Hongshan smacked his lips impatiently. Faring and Yang said softly, "Brother Song, we'll definitely do our best for the matter you entrusted us with today. Fellow Taoists, let me introduce you guys. This girl is the daughter of the Battle King and Immortal Queen Ling Long, Lin Lei's younger sister, Lin Luo." Song Xian beckoned to Lin Luo with a smile. "So, that's her family background. That explains why she possesses such an extraordinary aura." Fairy Nan Yang smiled gently and praised. "Yes, she's a beauty." Young Master Lan Tian nodded slightly. Hongshan grinned. "So, she's Lin Lei's sister. That explains why she looked so familiar. Speaking of which, I'm starting to miss your brother." The remaining city lord of Tianyong City, Gu Shou, remained silent and said nothing. He merely raised his head to look at Lin Luo with an indifferent expression. Although the city lords praised her, Lin Luo could sense that there was something strange about the way they looked at her. "Greetings, city lords." Lin Luo cupped her fists. After all, they had not fallen out yet and had to be perfunctory on the surface. Fairy Nan Yang swept her gaze across Su Zimo's face and asked, "Who is this young man? Why don't I recognize you at all?" "He is Suddenly, Song Xian realized that he did not know Su Zimo's name yet. However, he was not interested in knowing either. Pausing for a moment, he said casually, "He's an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy." "Oh." Fairy Nanyang smiled. "That explains why you look like a nerd. Standing there with your cold expression, without even bothering to greet us." The city lords had long detected that Su Zimo was only a grade 5 heaven immortal and naturally did not take him seriously. Lin Luo could not help but ask, "My brother isn't here yet?" "Any time now." Song Xian smiled gently. "Don't worry, today's Blood Peach Banquet will only officially begin when your brother arrives. Of course, you and your brother will have a chance to taste the variant blood peaches that I painstakingly nurtured." "I don't want it." Lin Luo frowned. Right then, a maidservant had already brought a few complete blood peaches to Song Xian and the others. Hong Shan took a blood peach first and wiped it roughly before smiling. "Little girl, this blood peach is a rare treasure in the world. If you eat one, it might help you advance a minor realm." "Even so, I'm not eating it." Lin Luo's tone was decisive, and her face was filled with resistance. Young Master Lan Tian and the others exchanged glances and sneered. Hong Shan could not help but urge, "Brother Song, let's not wait for Lin Lei anymore. Why don't we eat first?" Su Zimo, who was initially silent at the side, suddenly spoke and said coldly, "I advise you guys not to eat it either." That sudden voice seemed a little piercing in the peaceful and harmonious atmosphere. The initially noisy hall gradually quietened down. Everyone looked over. The gazes of thousands of perfected immortal experts landed on Su Zimo with an unimaginable might. "What did you just say? I didn't hear you clearly." Hong Shan could not help but raise his brow. He glared at Su Zimo and asked in an unfriendly tone. Expressionlessly, Su Zimo said word by word, "It's best if you guys don't touch these blood peaches. Otherwise, you'll definitely encounter a calamity." When young Master Lan Tian and the others saw how calm Su Zimo was, they suddenly felt guilty and uneasy. Song Xian was unmoved and asked indifferently, "What calamity? Please elaborate." Su Zimo said, "I heard that this blood peach blossom tree was born from the blood of that peach blossom spirit. That peach blossom spirit is a Tao child that served Desolate Marshal from the Fiend domain." "So?" Song Xian continued asking. Su Zimo glared at Song Xian and said slowly, "Therefore, Desolate Marshal will definitely not let things go. He will definitely come and settle scores with you. No one who eats the blood peaches will be able to escape." The hall fell into a momentary silence. Immediately after, thunderous laughter burst forth. "Ha ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter." When he mentioned a calamity, I wondered what it was given his morbid tone. To think that he was merely referring to Desolate Marshal of the Fiend domain. What a fuss. That Desolate Marshal guy sure knows how to brag, claiming that he encountered the 10th tribulation when in reality, he merely just advanced to the perfected one realm. That's right. Yen Zue and the others must have died because of Fiend King Heavenly Wrath. There's no way they died in his hands. In the hall, many perfected immortals discussed with smiles on their faces. They had relaxed expressions and were completely calm. Hong Shan rolled his eyes and bit the blood peach. His mouth was filled with blood as he cursed, "Desolate Marshal, huh? What bullshit. If he dares to look for me, I'll slap him to death." Fairy Nanyang heaved a sigh of relief. It was a false alarm. When she thought about how she was almost scared by this grade 5 heaven immortal earlier on, she could not help but laugh self-deprecatingly. "Fu fu fu." Song Xian laughed as well and looked at Su Zimo with a mocking gaze, shaking his head. "Are all disciples of Heaven and Earth Academy so naive and ignorant? Do you know where we are?" Before Su Zimo could reply, Song Xian hollered, "Under your feet is Langfeng City, one of the 5 cities of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. Right now, the Immortal Peach Banquet is ongoing alongside the competition for the Heaven ranking. There are 5 city lords holding down the fort with thousands of perfected immortals gathered, not to mention countless heaven immortals. No matter how bold Desolate Marshal is, there's no way he would dare to take half a step into Langfeng City. Chapter 2429, 2429 Tension, 2429 Tension. Little Bookworm of Heaven and Earth Academy, let me tell you some common knowledge. Fairy Nan Yang chuckled. Notwithstanding the fact that Desolate Marshal has just entered the Perfected One realm, throughout history, even among the previous Supreme Perfected Fiends, there has never been anyone who dared to come to the Nine Firmament Immortal Domain and behave atrociously. At the side, City Lord Gushio suddenly spoke and said coldly, "Unless Desolate Marshal has a death wish." Right then, a deep voice sounded from outside the hall. If Desolate Marshal of the Fiend Domain is willing to come to Langfeng City for the sake of a Dao child that served him, he must be quite an upright man. When she heard that voice, Lin Luo's heart skipped a beat and she was excited. However, there was a mixture of joy and worry on her face. Everyone looked over and saw a tall and burly man walking over in huge strides. His long hair danced, and he exuded a heroic aura with every step he took. This should be Lin Luo's brother, Lin Lei. Su Zimo muttered internally. Sizzle. The man dragged a pitch-black and heavy halberd in his hands. The sharp tip of the halberd streaked across the ground and sparks flew with an ear-piercing sound. As the man dragged his halberd over with a domineering aura, many perfected immortal experts in the hall were stunned by his aura and froze on the spot for a moment. Only Song Xian and the other four city lords had calm expressions. In fact, there was even a hint of smugness and excitement in their eyes. "Brother!" Lin Luo shouted and wanted to advance. However, she was suddenly frozen on the spot by the might of a few powerful spirit consciousnesses and could not move. "Lin Lei, you're too late. We've been waiting for a long time." Hong Shan burst into laughter. Young Master Lan Tian waved his jade fan gently and said with a smile, "Brother Lin, you sure seem even more exuberant than when we last met at the previous Nine Firmament meet. What are you guys doing?" Sensing the actions of Song Xian and the others, Lin Lei's gaze froze and his expression darkened as he asked slowly. Song Xian chuckled. "Lin Lei, I invited you to the Blood Peach Banquet out of goodwill. Yet, you barged in with the Black Mystic Battle halberd with an intimidating stance. I was just about to ask you what you're trying to do." "I'm here to take my sister home." Lin Lei's tone was resolute and firm like metal clashing. As Lin Luo said that, she shifted her gaze, indicating for Lin Lei to save Su Zimo as well. Lin Lei glanced at Su Zimo from the corner of his eye and frowned. He did not even know if he could save Lin Luo this time round, let alone add another person. The siblings were telepathic. As though she could read Lin Lei's hesitation, Lin Luo said hurriedly, "He came from the lower worlds as well and saved me." Lin Lei remained silent and did not comment. However, he thought otherwise. When he swept his gaze earlier on, he could tell that the cultivator called Su Zimo was only a grade 5 heaven immortal. Given Lin Luo's capabilities, why would she need a grade 5 heaven immortal to save her when she had the 9 palace subtle steps? Lin Lei was certain that Lin Luo was lying. However, she was so nervous about this person that she even lied to cover things up. What was her relationship with this person? Could it be? A thought flashed through Lin Lei's mind as he looked at Su Zimo with scrutiny and even resistance. This person looked extremely weak, and his physique and bloodline should be relatively underwhelming. His cultivation realm was not high, and he looked ordinary overall. In his opinion, this person was naturally far from worthy of his sister. Furthermore, Lin Lei had just heard Su Zimo threatening Song Xian and the others that Desolate Marshal of the Fiend Domain would come and that a calamity was imminent. Although this action might be out of justice, it was way too childish. Why would Desolate Marshal of the Fiend Domain attack Langfeng City of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain for the sake of a Dao child? Even if Desolate Marshal was here, how could he pose any threat to the perfected immortals in the hall, let alone bring about a calamity? This lad's cultivation realm was not high, and he was not capable. Yet, he was nerdy, reckless, and childish. Lin Lei had a bad first impression of Su Zimo. When he saw how worried Lin Luo was about defending this lad, Lin Lei's impression of Su Zimo decreased further. "There's no hurry to go home. Fairy Nanyang smiled. The blood peaches are ready, and we were waiting for you to arrive before we officially begin. It won't be too late to head back after the blood peach banquet. At the banquet, many perfected immortals had already begun to taste the blood peaches. What blood peach banquet? I'm not interested. Lin Lei replied coldly and glared at Song Xian with an unfriendly expression. Let my sister go. Why? Song Xian's expression darkened as he narrowed his eyes slightly. His tone turned cold as well. As the city lord of Langfeng City, I'm inviting you to a banquet along with many perfected immortal experts of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. Yet, you don't intend to stay, Brother Lin? Lin Lei, you sure are arrogant. Do you really think that the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain can't do anything to you? Gu Xiu hollered coldly and smashed the jade plate in his hands onto the ground, causing it to shatter. Many perfected immortal experts at the banquet stood up one after another and released powerful auras. They placed their palms on their storage bags and glared at Lin Lei with unfriendly gazes. Instantly, tension engulfed the hall. An unimaginable pressure descended on Lin Lei. Lin Lei's expression was unchanged, but he gripped the black mystic battle halberd even tighter. The current situation was even more dangerous than he had imagined. If it was against Song Xian alone, he would naturally be fearless. However, with the 5 city lords gathered here, he would definitely not be a match for them if they joined forces. Furthermore, there were thousands of perfected immortal experts. He could not withstand the immense pressure and could only take a step back temporarily. Lin Lei took a deep breath of air. I can take part in the blood peach banquet, but you guys have to let go of Lin Luo and let her come to my side. That won't do. Song Xian laughed. Brother Lin, if you renege on your words at the last minute and take out a treasure like a teleportation jade talisman to leave with Sister Lin Luo, we won't be able to stop you. Lin Lei was secretly frustrated. Initially, he had intended to tear the teleportation jade talisman and return to the green firmament immortal domain with Lin Luo so that he would not get entangled with Song Xian and the others. However, Song Xian and the others seemed to have read his mind and did not give him the chance at all. Lin Lei asked in a deep voice, when will the blood peach banquet end? That's hard to say. Song Xian smiled. That depends on you, Brother Lin. What do you mean? Lin Lei asked with a frown. Song Xian said leisurely, I heard that the Battle King is severely injured and Immortal Queen Ling Long is guarding him. Right now, the Battle Kingdom is troubled both internally and externally and is in a precarious situation. I'm extremely worried as well. I have a suggestion that can help the Battle Kingdom tide through the crisis. Lin Lei merely looked at Song Xian in silence. Song Xian continued, I have a younger brother who's still young and is already a grade 4 heaven immortal. He can be considered as a paragon. I saw that your sister is around the same age as my brother, and their cultivation realms are similar. Why don't we let them become Dao companions? It's a match made in heaven. The Battle King and Immortal Queen Ling Long are too busy to leave their posts. However, elder brothers are like fathers. Brother Lin, as long as you agree to let your sister become Dao companions with my brother, you can naturally leave with her after the marriage. Amazing. Hong Shan clapped and smiled. The two of them can be considered as a golden couple. They are a perfect match and are of equal status. With such a marriage alliance, the Battle Kingdom will be able to obtain the absolute support of Brother Song as well. Chapter 2430. Chapter 2430 Joining Forces. Chapter 2430 Joining Forces. Lin Luo was anxious and worried that Lin Lei would agree to things in a moment of foolishness. In a hurry, she said, No, I already have a Dao companion. It's him. She looked at Su Zimo beside her. What kind of a joke is this? Song Xian could not help but laugh in disapproval. Given his experience, he could naturally tell that Lin Luo was still a virgin. Lin Luo defended, The two of us have already decided on staying together for life. That's enough. Lin Lei hollered and glared at Su Zimo. Thereafter, he looked at Song Xian and the others coldly and said slowly, The affairs of the Battle Kingdom will naturally be settled by our Lin family. We don't need outsiders to help us. We won't sacrifice Lin Luo in exchange for anyone's support. That useless brother of yours isn't even worthy of carrying my sister's shoes. At that moment, Lin Lei could tell that Song Xian and the others had no intention of letting them leave so easily. The marriage alliance was merely an excuse. Oh. Young Master Lan Tian smiled sinisterly and said mockingly, from your tone, it seems like you don't fancy Brother Song's younger brother. How about this? How about letting me have your sister? Your sister looks adorable. I'll definitely dote on her after she's given to me. The crowd burst into laughter. Lin Luo's face flushed red in anger. This was no longer just teasing her in front of Lin Lei. This was an insult to the Lin family. Everyone knew that young Master Lan Tian had many concubines. Lin Luo was the daughter of 2 immortal kings after all. How could she end up in such a state? Lan Tian. Lin Lei lowered his head slightly and called out softly. Why? Young Master Lan Tian smiled. You must have a death wish. Lin Lei raised his head suddenly and his tiger eyes were filled with endless killing intent. He raised the black mystic battle halberd with one hand and drew a semicircle in midair, slashing down viciously at young Master Lan Tian, who was not far away. Although young Master Lan Tian seemed to be relaxed, he was already tense. The moment Lin Lei made a move, he reacted right away and tapped his feet on the ground while retreating. Brother Lin's getting anxious. Young Master Lan Tian chuckled. If Lin Lei continued to endure, the few of them would go even further. Today, the 5 of them wanted to force Lin Lei to make a move so as to retain the siblings in Langfeng City. Young Master Lan Tian avoided the sharpness of the black mystic battle halberd and channeled his Dao fruit. A halo appeared behind his head and the feather fan in his hands spread. True essence gathered on the folding fan ribs and condensed into sword chi that burst forth, speeding towards Lin Lei. Young Master Lan Tian did not dare to be careless and did not hold back the moment he attacked, channeling his Dao fruit to fight. Lin Lei flicked his wrist and the black mystic battle halberd drew a beautiful arc. Clang, clang, clang. The black mystic battle halberd blocked all the sword chi released by young Master Lan Tian and let out a crisp sound. Let's see how many moves you can last. Lin Lei hollered and his aura intensified. He strode forward and raised the black mystic battle halberd. His moves expanded and enveloped young Master Lan Tian. The black mystic battle halberd was imbued with a powerful and condensed true essence and was incomparably berserk. The power released with every strike was too strong, and the surrounding void would distort and tremble with every swipe of the halberd. Cowardice engulfed young Master Lan Tian, and he did not dare to take it head-on. The moment Lin Lei attacked, he gained the upper hand and crushed young Master Lan Tian, not giving the latter any chance to catch his breath. The space to survive under the black mystic battle halberd became increasingly cramped. In less than 10 moves, young Master Lan Tian was forced to fight Lin Lei head-on. Young Master Lan Tian shuddered and his arm ached, trembling slightly. Boom, boom, boom. After a slight pause, the 2 of them exchanged blows once more and supreme divine powers burst forth one after another, clashing in midair with terrifying aftershocks. In the hands of perfected immortals, the same supreme divine power could release a might way stronger than heaven immortals using the condensed true essence of the Dao fruit. Even though Su Zimo was not a perfected immortal, he could tell that young Master Lan Tian would definitely lose if the battle continued. Ha 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 ha. Right then, Hong Shan burst into laughter and took out a copper spear from his storage bag. With a single leap, he arrived in midair. Brother Lin, you sure are capable. You make me itch for battle. Let me give it a try. Hong Shan channeled his blood chi, and his entire body swelled. His clothes tore, revealing a body that seemed to be made of molten metal as he raised his copper spear and punched towards Lin Lei. When he saw that, Lin Luo could not help but shout, "You're all city lords of the 5 immortal cities. How dare you fight 2 against 1? How shameless!" "Little girl, that's where you're wrong." Fairy Nan Yang chuckled. "Your brother was clearly the one who came over to cause trouble. Who can he blame since he was the one who attacked first?" This isn't a fight for the perfected immortal ranking. Who said that we have to fight one-on-one? Guxiu said coldly. Lin Luo was furious and hollered, "You guys are twisting the facts." Song Xian smirked and said proudly with his hands behind his back, "Girl, let me teach you a lesson today. There's no such thing as right or wrong in this world. If I'm strong enough, I can control everything. I'm the one who determines who is right or wrong." Boom! A tall figure landed heavily on the ground of the hall, creating a huge pit as dust billowed. Hong Shan, who had just charged forward, was sent flying by Lin Lei's halberd. He stood up from the dust and twisted his neck, letting out a crisp sound. Green veins popped up on Hong Shan's neck and the wounds on his body healed quickly. He glared at Lin Lei's figure with an even more excited expression and shouted, "Again? Impressive." Guxiu harumphed coldly and leaped into the air. A cold sword circled around him and charged towards Lin Lei. "I'll join in the fun as well." Fairy Nanyang chuckled and attacked at the same time. In the blink of an eye, 4 city lords joined the battle. "You guys." Lin Luo clenched his fists and glared angrily. "Come on." In midair, Lin Lei hollered and his black hair danced wildly as he channeled his blood chi to its limits. After the sound of the tsunami, 9 dragon roars reverberated through the world. Roar, roar, roar. Blood chi surged around Lin Lei, and 9 lifelike divine dragons were formed. Their claws were sharp and their heads were menacing. They were murderous and their might rumbled. Su Zimo had seen Lin Luo release the bloodline phenomenon of the 9 dragons once. However, although they were both bloodline phenomenons, Lin Lei's burst was clearly much stronger than Lin Luo's. Lin Lei's blood chi and physique were extremely strong, and his melee combat strength was unusually ferocious. After releasing his bloodline phenomenon, Lin Lei released another 4 immortal cities. Supreme Divine Power, 3 heads 6 arms. His combat strength increased exponentially as he fought against the city lords of the 4 immortal cities. Boom, 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 boom. The 4 city lords released their bloodline phenomenons as well. For them to be able to sit in the position of the city lord, they could be considered as the strongest few perfected immortals of the Jade Firmament immortal domain. All of them had cultivated bloodline phenomenons. Instantly, a few different bloodline phenomenons clashed in midair in an extremely tragic manner. Although Lin Lei was fighting 1 against 4, he fought fiercer and fiercer without being disadvantaged at all. However, against the encirclement of the 4 city lords, it was extremely difficult for Lin Lei to break through their combined attack as well. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Although Lin Lei was not disadvantaged and seemed to be maintaining the balance, in reality, the current situation was extremely disadvantageous for him. Right now, it was only the 4 city lords joining forces. If Song Xian or any other perfected immortal were to join the fray, Lin Lei would definitely not be able to hold out and would definitely lose. Chapter 2431. Chapter 2431. Accept your fate. Chapter 2431. Accept your fate. The battle continued and intensified. The city lords of the 5 cities of the Jade Firmament immortal domain were not like the other ordinary perfected immortals in the hall. Instead, they were top-tier experts qualified to fight for the perfected immortal ranking at the 9 Firmament immortal meet. Lin Lei's combat strength was heaven-defying and his physique was shocking. Despite his high consumption, he could still fight against the 4 city lords and remain undefeated. Both parties were in a stalemate after a long battle, and neither of them could break out of the situation within a short period of time. Su Zimo was puzzled. Lin Lei's trump cards were endless and his talent in combat was indeed far superior to others. However, right from the beginning, Lin Lei had not released that mysterious footwork. In the past, when Su Zimo's life was hanging by a thread, he was inspired and was lucky to use it once. He knew very well how powerful that mysterious footwork was. If he were to use that footwork, Lin Lei would definitely be able to break the current stalemate. Su Zimo glanced at Lin Luo beside him and sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness, asking the question in his mind. You mean the 9 palace subtle steps? Lin Luo was surprised. I've seen you use it once before. So, you don't know the origin of this footwork? Su Zimo nodded. Even so, Lin Luo explained patiently, the 9 palace subtle steps is a secret skill that Mother could only master after obtaining an ancient inheritance. This secret skill is complicated and mysterious. Mother once imparted it to Father, Brother, and me. Father and Brother are both people with extraordinary talent and heaven-defying comprehension, but they still couldn't understand the crux of it. There's such a strange thing? Su Zimo was extremely surprised. He did not understand Lin Lei. However, for the human monarch to be able to rise against the tides in Tianhuang mainland and lead the human race to create a glorious era, his talent, opportunities, and comprehension were naturally 1 in a billion. However, even senior human monarch could not comprehend the 9 palace subtle steps. This could not be a matter of comprehension and endowment. Lin Luo continued, the 9 palace subtle steps involves a wide range of techniques, including astrology, yin and yang, the 5 elements, prognostication, and many other dermic das. The calculations are precise and fine. Yet, it's strange. I didn't cultivate the 9 palace subtle steps for long before I was able to master it. Pausing for a moment, Lin Luo asked curiously, what's up with you being able to release the 9 palace subtle steps, though? Initially, I thought that my mother had imparted it to you. No. Su Zimo hesitated for a moment. Back then, I only managed to release it by a freak coincidence. How can there be a coincidence as such? Lin Luo's eyes widened. After a while, she continued, my brother inherited more of my father's dermic Dao, while I inherited more of my mother's dermic Dao. Su Zimo nodded to himself. From this battle, it could be seen that Lin Lei's moves were ferocious, wide, and torrential, resembling the glory of the human monarch in the past. Su Zimo recalled something and instructed, if there's a chance later, leave as soon as possible with your brother. Don't worry about me. I have a teleportation Jade badge in my storage bag, and I can leave at any moment. Lin Luo was puzzled. Just as she was about to ask, Song Xian's expression changed. Although he could not hear what Su Zimo and Lin Luo were talking about, he could sense an extremely dense spirit consciousness fluctuation between the two of them. Without any warning, Song Xian suddenly turned around and grabbed Lin Luo by the throat, lifting the latter up from the ground. Against the pressure of Song Xian's spirit consciousness, Su Zimo could not move at all. Ah! Lin Luo exclaimed. Lin Lei, who was in the midst of the battle, sensed something and caught sight of this from the corner of his eye. He could not help but feel enraged, and his blood surged as he roared, Song Xian, let go of her. In a battle of this level, both parties were top-tier experts and could not afford to be distracted. Lin Lei was worried about his sister's safety. In his distraction, he revealed an opening and was grabbed by the 4 city lords. They attacked at the same time and released incomparably ferocious attacks. Song Xian let go of Lin Luo and smiled. Naturally, he would not really hurt Lin Luo. He merely wanted to make use of Lin Luo to distract Lin Lei. Poof, poof, poof. The head and arms conjured by 3 heads, 6 arms were ruptured by the attacks of the 4 city lords one after another, turning into streams of true essence that dissipated on the spot. The tides had reversed instantly. Even so, Lin Lei could still defend against the ferocious attacks of the 4 city lords with his powerful blood chi and heaven-defying combat strength. Jade shattering palm. Right then, a soft call sounded from the battlefield. Song Xian had finally attacked. His timing was extremely precise. When he attacked, Lin Lei was at his weakest after defending against the encirclement of the 4 city lords. Song Xian slapped out with his palm, and true essence condensed. Boundless jade chi spilled out and enveloped Lin Lei, freezing him continuously. Instantly, Lin Lei's body was covered by a jade luster, and he seemed to have transformed into a jade statue that could not move at all. Piak! Song Xian slapped down. The jade shattered. Lin Lei landed heavily on the ground and got up. Before he could do anything, his body swayed and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood he spat out fell to the ground and turned solid like jade. "Brother!" Lin Luo cried tragically. However, she was suppressed on the spot by Jiang Xinyu and could not advance at all. She could only watch helplessly. Lin Lei's face was pale and his body swayed. Gripping the black mystic battle halberd tightly with both hands, he barely managed to support his body and not kneel down. "Fu-fu," Song Xian chuckled. "Lin Lei, it's already impressive that you survived my jade-shattering palm. Do you still want to fight?" Young Master Lan Tian and the other three descended from midair as well, looking at Lin Lei with mocking gazes. At that moment, Lin Lei's bloodline was transforming continuously, slowing down and turning jade-like. If his entire bloodline was assimilated, he would have to abandon this body. Despicable scum. Lin Lei cursed angrily. As a city lord, you ambushed him from the back. How shameless. The victor's reign, and it's useless no matter what you say. Song Xian pouted and sneered in disapproval. Lin Lei said coldly, "So what if I lose? If you dare to kill me, the few of you can dream about living as well." "Brother Lin, you must be joking. Why do I need your life?" Song Xian smiled. "The two of you are merely bait." "You." Lin Lei's expression changed and his heart sank as he thought of a possibility. The purpose of these people was to get his mother to rush over. At that time, if the immortal kings of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain were alarmed, not only would their families be destroyed, even the Battle Kingdom would be completely annihilated. "Have you finally guessed it?" Song Xian's smile intensified. Lin Luo understood as well and suddenly shouted, "Brother, hurry and leave. Tell mother not to come over and protect father and the Battle Kingdom. Don't worry about me." Lin Lei looked at Lin Luo with a pained and conflicted expression. "It's too late. None of you will be able to escape." Song Xian did not stop Lin Luo's reminder and merely shook his head with a mocking expression. Young Master Lan Tian and the others released their spirit consciousnesses one after another and locked onto Lin Lei. As long as the latter made any strange movements, they would attack immediately. They would not even give Lin Lei a chance to make use of his teleportation jade talisman to escape. Song Xian raised his head slightly and looked down at Lin Lei, saying proudly, "Lin Lei, from the moment you arrived here, the outcome of the Lin family and the Battle Kingdom was already decided, and no one can change it. Accept your fate." A look of confusion, helplessness, and despair flashed through Lin Lei's eyes as he gradually released his grip on the black mystic battle halberd. Right then, a purple-robed man entered the hall. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.